going back to the old system, we ask questions. Discuss.
Good evening. Apologies for starting late. We'll call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Starting at C2, report of actions taken in closed session. I have 3 actions to report. During the previous closed session, the board took action to authorize the district superintendent or superintendent's designee to adopt resolution 2018-19047 to notify one certificated administrator that they may be released from their position for the 2019-2020 school year pursuant to Ed Code section 44951. The vote was 5 yes votes, 0 no votes, 1 absent, 1 vacant. Second, we're missing one. During the previous closed session, the board took action to authorize the district superintendent or superintendent's designee to adopt Resolution 2018-19045 to notify up to 7 probationary certificated teachers that they will not be non-reelected for the 2019-2020 school year pursuant to Ed Code section 44929.21. The vote was 5 yes, 0 no, 1 absent, 1 vacant. And we have one more. And during the previous closed session, the board took action to authorize the district superintendent or superintendent's designee to adopt resolution number 2018-19046 to initiate a reduction in certificated employee service of up to 19.9 FTE pursuant to Ed Code sections 44949 and 44955. Vote was 5 yes, 0 no, 1 absent, 1 vacant. And then moving on to C3, items considered in closed session for action in open session on the expulsion agenda. I need a motion for case 18-1922.
Move to accept the recommendation on resolution 18-1922.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Medina, second by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Director Medina?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, motion carries. I need a motion on case 18-1923.
Move the recommendation 18-1923.
Second.
Moved by Director Sheffield, second by Director Medina. Roll call vote, please.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director Medina?
Aye.
Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Motion carries. I need a motion on case 18-1924.
Move to accept the staff recommendation on resolution 18-1924.
Second.
Moved by Director Medina, second by Director McCormick. Roll call vote, please.
Director Medina?
Aye.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Motion carries. And I need a motion on case 18-1926.
Move to accept the recommendation on resolution 18-1926.
Second.
Moved by Director Medina, second by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Director Medina?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director Manieri?
Director McCormick? Aye. President Close?
Aye. Motion carries 1819, I need a motion on case 1819-29.
Move to accept the recommendation on Resolution 1819-29.
I second.
Moved by Director Medina, second by Director Manieri. Roll call vote, please.
Director Medina? Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director McCormick? Aye. Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Okay, the motion carries. And moving on to the suspended expulsion list, I need a motion on case 1819-28.
Move to accept the recommendation on case 1819-28 with the addition that counseling relevant to the offending conduct be required.
Second.
Moved by Director McCormick with an amendment, seconded by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Director McCormick? Aye. Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director Medina? Aye. President Close?
Okay, motion carries, bringing us to our last one, case 1819-27.
Move to accept the staff recommendation on Resolution 1819-27.
Second.
Moved by Director Medina, second by Director McCormick. Roll call vote, please.
Director Medina?
Aye.
Director McCormick? Aye. Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, motion carries. And that brings us to C4, statements of abstention. Seeing none. C5, adjustments to the agenda.
I'd like to make an adjustment to the agenda. I'd like to pull consent item E9.
Again?
Pull consent item E9.
E9.
I have a,
Okay, so we'll also pull E2 because we have a speaker card.
that E2 is personnel transactions. Is President Close? Let me look. Yes, okay. I needed to pull that off the agenda as well.
Any others? Then requests, board requests for information. I actually was going to pull E7 tonight around the roofing contract, although instead I'm going to request that the superintendent bring back a board item to discuss our roofing contracts and progress on those in general as an open session item. Thank you. Okay, C7. Approval of minutes of the special board meeting held on February 20th, 2019.
I move to approve the minutes of the special board meeting held on February 20th, 2019.
Second.
Moved by Director Manieri, seconded by Director McCormick.
Right.
The Doppler
Flip a
effect. I
coin.
heard her first. Roll call vote, please.
Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director McCormick? Aye. Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director Medina? President Close?
Aye. Motion carries. C8, approval of minutes of the regular board meeting held on February 27th, 2019.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held on February 27th, 2019.
I will second.
Moved by Director Manieri, second by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director McCormick? Aye. Sorry, Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director Medina?
Abstain.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, motion carries, and with that brings us to something way more fun that you guys will enjoy more, special presentations for Student of the Month and certificated and classified employees of the month. And tonight you have the honor of being presented by Director Sheffield. And Director Sheffield, before you get going, just an announcement. We will do the awards, and we have changed it a little bit, so just as a reminder, we'll take pictures of just the students and Director Sheffield down here, and of course staff will come down all together. Then after C10, the school site parent reports, we will take a 10-minute break, and people can gather to take pictures with the whole families and staff and anybody else who wants to take pictures. Okay.
All right.
This is on? Yes? Yes? All right, we will start with Student of the Month, Sebastian Sanchez from Brook Hill Elementary. Come on down, Sebastian. Come on down. I'd have you come and stand next to me right over here. Sebastian Sanchez is a wonderful person and student. Teachers at Brook Hill agree that it is great to have a student as dedicated to learning as Sebastian. He is not only respectful on task, but he also possesses a quiet kindness that makes him a wonderful role model to his classmates. He is a leader during collaborative tasks and is naturally inquisitive. Sebastian's work ethic is to be admired as he is very self-motivated. He understands what is expected of a sixth grader and exceeds those expectations. He is incredibly hardworking and consistently turns in high-quality work. Sebastian brings deep thought into every discussion and has a wicked sense of humor and has a smile ready for all. Because Sebastian has such a great attitude, he never complains about what he can't do. Instead, he takes on daily challenges and works to overcome them. He does not quit, give up, or become frustrated. He just keeps trying. I love his willingness to persevere through some of the tough stuff, says his sixth grade teachers. Sebastian is the youngest of 3 boys of Mr. and Mrs. Sanchez. When Sebastian is not studying or finishing his homework, he likes to play video games. His future plans are to go to college, good, and get a good paying job, also very good. His dream job is in the field of technology, but at this time he doesn't know exactly what he wants to do, but he knows that he wants to go to college. So you still have plenty of time to think this over, but going to college is a very good start. He has said that for now, his focus is on getting through high school. Due to his great work ethic, kindness, and respectfulness of others, Sebastian will continue to do great in middle school and high school. Then, these great life skills he possesses will be an asset as he continues into adulthood and pursue college and a degree. Any college or employer would be proud to have him. The Santa Rosa School Board of Education and the Brook Hill staff congratulate Sebastian for being Brook Hill Student of the Month. And next we'll have Caleb Gold. Caleb, come on up. Congratulations, Caleb. Here are a few things being said about Caleb, 8th grader at Slater Middle School. From its principal, Mitchell Tucker. As a principal, I can count on Caleb to be a great role model at Slater. He exemplifies hard work, determination, and kindness. It was so fun to watch Caleb's face light up with joy and pride when I told him he was our Student of the Year. Caleb's history teacher, Mr. Provost, says Caleb is a great kid. He is a wonderful student, always full of questions, and wants to talk about current events, which means he's paying attention to the world around him. He comes prepared and contributes to class. He is funny and has a great attitude about life. I love having Caleb in class. Another teacher, Miss Romero, says, it is a joy to have Caleb in my computer class. He loves life, which is apparent in all his actions. He is kind to others, extremely bright, and completes all of his computer projects with care and enthusiasm. Ask him for permission to play the video game he designed in class. It's quite challenging, to say the least. And Mrs. Cass, Caleb's math teacher, says, Caleb has a wonderful sense of humor, and it is a joy for me to be able to learn more about this side of Caleb. For all the challenges Caleb has experienced in his life, he always has a positive, joyous outlook, and he reminds me not to sweat the small stuff. Being self-aware as a middle school student and even as a person at any life phase is a rare and wondrous quality. I'm so excited to see how Caleb creates his future. The sky is truly the limit for this young man, and it has been one of my greatest honors as a teacher to be in the same classroom as such an enlightened person. Thank you, Caleb. These are amazing testimonials from all of your teachers. Caleb, you are truly deserving of this recognition, and congratulations. And you can stay for a photo. Our next student is Katie Gu, Montgomery High School 12th grader. It is with great pleasure to introduce Katie Gu as Montgomery's Student of the Month. As an international baccalaureate program diploma candidate, Katie has proven herself to be very bright and a capable student. What her teachers notice about Katie is her ability to engage in a variety of activities while maintaining a clear focus on her goals. Katie has concentrated her efforts in the medical field with a list of important positions at Stanford, Sonoma State, and Guangdong General Hospital. Wow. She somehow manages to be politically and socially active too. She is serving on the Committee on the Status of Women, attending California's Girls State as a representative of Montgomery High School, co-founder of Montgomery Junior Statesmen of America, vice president of the Key Club, and president of the Mandarin Club. Wow. Have you ever thought about the 2020 presidential election? I think you're more than qualified. Ooh. Katie's accomplishments as a scholar and leader are apparent. Katie is also a talented singer, musician, and artist. She has been the captain of the tennis and badminton team for the last 2 years, but most importantly, her teachers would tell you that Katie is kind, optimistic, generous, respectful, and respected. She demonstrates a willingness to give back to our school and the community in general. Montgomery High is so proud to have Katie Gu as part of the Viking family. Congratulations. And next, we're going to move on to the classified employees of the month, and bring them all out. We can have actually all of you come down. We'll have and certificated. Sorry, we'll have Angie Skolnick come down. We'll have Tina Geffner. We'll have Victor Mendez. We'll have Logan Caper. We'll have Lena Basiles. Balasek, I'm sorry. And Sandra Dial. And Angie. We'll start with you, Angie. Angie is a family engagement facilitator at Brook Hill Elementary. Angie is a diligent family engagement facilitator who goes above and beyond to help families at Brook Hill Elementary School. Angie has leadership qualities in that she practices what she respects and expects. She exemplifies a team approach and is responsible and accountable to her assigned duties. She has the ability to address problems proactively, uses judgment and discretion to resolve problems that may not be covered by policy, and is highly confidential and sensitive to family needs. She has been instrumental in running a smooth LPAC testing team with little impact on the day-to-day schedule of the classroom. Working as a family engagement facilitator requires a high degree of organization with regard to paperwork and scheduling of reclassification meetings, as well as the ability to work as part of a team, both with colleagues and in partnership with parents, students, and staff. Angie has managed these requirements successfully and with professionalism. She ensures that all families feel welcome at Brook Hill and makes personal phone calls to invite parents to classes offered, such as the parenting classes from the California Parenting Institute, and she assists with the Latino literacy and nutrition classes offered on campus. Angie is one of the many reasons the annual open house Mexican dinner is such a huge community success. She works closely with the PFO organization to organize the event. When students were asked about Angie and why she deserves to be recognized as our classified employee of the month, the student's response was, "She gave my mom good news about my reclassification, and she helps my mom." Congratulations, Angie, for being Brook Hill Classified Employer of the Month. Okay, next we will move on to Tina Gaffner. Tina? Gaffer? Gaffner, yes. Tina Gaffner, Brook Hill Elementary Resource Specialist. Tina Gaffner has been a resource specialist teacher for 20 years, going back to when IEPs were handwritten as opposed to now when everything is electronic. Her first teaching job was at Lawrence Cook Middle School as a resource specialist for 7th and 8th grades. She also taught primary special day classes for 3 years at Lincoln Elementary before going to part-time at Comstock Middle School in an SDC resource specialist position after her first child was born. Tina is a dedicated educator who is often one of the first to arrive on campus. Among many other qualifications for the strenuous job, special education instruction requires someone who is organized, can meet mandated deadlines, someone who is detail-oriented and can handle the paperwork that comes with the position. Tina does an outstanding job fulfilling all the requirements and meeting deadlines, yet still providing high-quality instruction. Tina has been at Brook Hill for the past 9 years as the resource specialist, where she really enjoys working with students in the elementary grades. She works hard to develop personal relationships with students and helps them develop social and academically. Tina has been an asset for the teachers and the administration as our in-house special education expert. She's a valued member of the student study team and gives suggestions for the pre-referral intervention manual, as well as shares her expertise in the field of special education. She cooperates with the grade level teachers she works with and has high expectations for all the students. Tina delivers academic instruction with heart. Santa Rosa City Schools and the Brook Hill staff are pleased to congratulate Tina for a job well done. Congratulations. Next, we have Victor Mendez. Victor is head custodian at Herbert Slater Middle School. Staff at Herbert Slater Middle School cannot think of more deserving person to be recognized for their hard work and dedication to their profession. Victor was a machine when it came to getting things ready for the first day of school. Victor and his amazing team have made Slater beautiful, clean, and a campus that we are all proud to have and see every day. Our students do a pretty good job of picking up after themselves, but Victor makes sure that it is spotless within minutes of every meal. Anytime we need help, any kind of challenge or pressing need, Victor is there within seconds. Here are some of the comments from staff. Victor helps me out with every problem I've had, and he always does so immediately. He's here when I arrive in the morning, and he's still here when I leave in the afternoon. We're lucky to have such a professional guy. He is one of the most diligent, caring, and task-oriented people I have worked with in all my years in the public school system. He works so hard, and it is so gracious, and he's always gracious and humble. He is so very deserving of this award. Another, Victor shows up for the art room on so many levels. I feel like he knows what needs to be done before I ask. He takes great care and pride in the work he does, and it shows. His work ethic is impressive, and he has the skills and abilities to figure most anything out. One more. Victor is amazing. Something is always going wrong in science lab. Clogged sinks, broken gas jets, paper clips in outlets. Yikes. Victor is our knight in shining armor, coming to repair whatever is broken, and he's always there with a smile. So congratulations, Victor, for this recognition. All right, Logan Caper. Hi, Logan, congratulations. Logan is Herbert Slater. He's an 8th grade science teacher. Logan is an outstanding educator, a complete team player, and a wonderful person. He has stepped up in a time of need for our school to assist with lunch and brunch supervision. His principal has complete confidence in his ability to defuse potential conflict between students and also relate to them and build positive relationships. Logan has not been teaching very long, but you would never know it when you walk into his classroom. His lessons are engaging and meaningful. He has great classroom management skills to go along with his sense of humor and a welcoming approach towards his students. In addition to being an excellent science teacher, Logan is also teaching one section of robotics, and his students love his class. Here are some comments from his peers. Logan has a steady, calm demeanor with his kids and a good sense of humor. I really admire the commitment he's made to starting his robotics class. It's a great opportunity for the students. Logan is a breath of fresh air on our campus, and he fully engages with his students and other staff members in such a positive manner. Another, Logan has been such an amazing addition to our staff. He has a great energy about him. I'm always hearing my students talk about the cool experiments they get to do in Mr. Caper's science class, like blowing up pumpkins. Blowing up pumpkins. And making ice cream. Logan has been a huge boon to the science department. His work with the smart cars helped expand our physics unit. He's a pleasure to work with, kind, and patient. Congratulations, Logan, on a job well done. Certificate? Let's talk about that blowing up pumpkins thing. I think I want to see that. All right, and now we have Alina Balasic. Alina Balasic. Montgomery High School teacher, physical education, and department chair. Ms. Balasik brings a strong vision with real leadership in her profession. In the past few years, Ms. Balasik has brought yoga to Montgomery. Noticing the importance of mindfulness, she is meeting the well-being and fitness for students to manage their daily stress in healthy ways. It's so important. Also, she was on the committee that helped establish Montgomery's instructional framework. She continues to work to support Special Olympics at Montgomery. But she does not stop there. She strives to engage and support all students in their learning. She was creating a curriculum and assessments to focus on student growth. Ms. Balasik has worked with the English department, Social Studies department, and Science department to help prepare students to build upon strong literacy skills so they can provide background, defend ideas, explain cause and effect within a physical educational environment. This year, Montgomery started Focus Guide Study with their guided study period. The purpose of the Focus Guided Study is to provide equal access and equitable learning opportunities for all students. The focus is on 9th grade students in math and English that need extra support within the school days. Ms. Balasik volunteers to help support struggling 9th graders within their English classes. Ms. Balasik has earned great respect from her peers for her ideas, for her leadership, for her willingness to support students and staff on improving instructional practices for all students. Congratulations and thank you for all that you do. That'll save you. And one last person who is not here is Sandra Dial. She is sick today, but I'll go ahead and read this anyway. We are pleased to introduce Sandra Dial as the Montgomery High School Classified Employee of the Month. She is the counseling secretary at Montgomery. And we're proud to have Sandra's integrity and dependability and has earned her the recognition as an integral member of the Viking team. Sandra joined the Viking team in 2016 as the counseling secretary. Her position entails oversight of student cumulative folders, enrollment withdrawals, organization and information for specialized program and services, and to ensure that everything is in the student information system. Sandra oversees a lot of different aspects of student services in the office and does so with great attention to detail and efficiency. As the counseling secretary, she is one of the first team member families meet when they come to Montgomery. Her peaceful demeanor and vivacious smile greet students and parents alike. She is organized, responsible, and highly respected by her colleagues. Montgomery High School is so very fortunate to have Sandra as part of the Viking team, and they appreciate her hard work, commitment, and dedication. So congratulations to Sandra if you're out there listening. Thank you so much for all that you do. I think we'll do a big photo here.
Thank you, Director Sheffield, and congratulations to all our students and staff who won awards this month. And I like to remind people periodically that even though they're called Student of the Month or the Classified Member of the Month or the Certificated Staff Member of the Month, that it is of the month for the Board of Education, but each school gets one. So really, these are the staff members of the year and the students of the year. And so it's very impressive. Congratulations. Okay, so we will have the school site parent reports, and we'll start with Brook Hill Elementary. After that, Herbert Slater, and then Montgomery High School Do we have someone here from Brook Hill? You can go up to the podium there, on either side.
Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Kitamura, and I apologize if I said your last name incorrectly. I am Martina, the president of the Brook Hill PFO. I would like to thank the board for its support in being the first school to be rekeyed and having us pilot one of the many cameras that might be considered for purchasing in the near future. I would like to share how PFO supports Brook Hill this school year. We work together well with the support of our principal, Mrs. Bettis Cook, and the teachers. Both the principal and the teachers attend our meetings and support our fundraisers. We started the school year with a teacher welcome back luncheon in August, and we also finished the school year with a teacher appreciation lunch. We have done several fundraisers and just completed our Fun Pasta fundraiser to help towards the purchase of technology, benches for our garden, and anything else the school needs. We have raised $1,666.95 through cookie dough sales in the fall. We had a tamale fundraiser in the winter concert and raised $322.50. And we will be supporting Math and Literacy Night in the month of March and April. We have donated $2,000 towards the purchase of a Chrome cart, and now every upper grade classroom has its own Chrome cart. We invite you to our famous Mexican food open house on May 23rd. We will be selling a variety of Mexican food from tacos, enchiladas, tamales, to corn on the cob, funnel cakes, cookies, and much more. We are very proud of our school and all it has to offer. We hope to see you at our open house. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for all your work on behalf of your school. So we'll have a report from Herbert Slater, and then I've been told we don't have one from Montgomery. So after this report, we will take a break.
Mitchell Tucker, I am the principal at Herbert Slater, and I'm going to be representing our acting chairperson, who is Ali Katrochi, and she is on a long-planned family vacation, and so I'm representing her tonight just to be brief and talk a little bit about our PTO. I want to reach out and say thank you. Our PTO is on the decline this year, and so I want to say thank you to our small but committed group that's doing a great job for us. They have done dine and donates, paint night. They represented the Vine Man race and raised money, so that was wonderful, so we appreciate that. And we have an upcoming event that we want to promote, that the PTO has asked me to promote, and many of you probably participate in the human race, and we're going to promote the participation in the human race because the PTO has set up Slater Middle School as a group that is a nonprofit, and you can do the donation if you participate in the human race. So that'll be on May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, a Saturday. So wear your Star Wars and come out. You can sign up online at humanrace.org. And if you would and are willing, we're going to promote this through our students and our parents to be a nice event. The race actually starts at Slater and then goes through Annandale and Spring Lake, so it'll be a great event for us. So thank you, and we will have representation here next year, hopefully, I promise. Thank you.
Thank you. And as it turns out, we do have a report from Montgomery. Yes?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Kitamura. Congratulations, Victor and Mr. Caper. So happy to see Slater teachers and staff tonight, since, we graduate from Slater and come to Montgomery. Thank you for inviting me. I'm representing Montgomery High School. I'm the president of the Montgomery Education Foundation, and I'm also representing the Athletic Boosters and Project Grad. Well, let's see. And I'm also the chair for Crab Feed. We have an annual Crab Feed we do in January, which is our main fundraiser for the Education Foundation. And we support all the academic departments, special ed, green construction, technology. So just like other schools, we've been very busy. We started off the new year welcoming our amazing staff to a fabulous lunch. The alumni organization, they had their first car show at the parking lot at Montgomery that just turned 60 years old. The first graduating class being 1959. The second car show will be August 17th. The Athletic Boosters had casino night in November and the bowling events in April. We had our crab feed, and then the alumni just this past weekend had their polenta feed. So with all these organizations, we're able to help support our school. We also will help with Teacher Appreciation Week, prom, senior breakfast, Project Grad. Project Grad has been around since 1988. It has 0 deaths since that event. I believe it's the 31st or 32nd year. We've been very fortunate to ask our local businesses to help us, support us. It's just so hard. We realize as parents, we just try to do our best. We value our educators, our administration, and we know it is very difficult at this time. So it's my passion to help as much as I can, along with the numerous amount of parents that just want to do the best we can. And so we really appreciate all the families that help us. And also, we'd like to thank the board for helping us support our new soccer field, track field. We're very excited. We're very proud of our soccer players who are NBL champions, both girls and boys, and also our wrestling team. We also helped our dance students go to a dance festival in San Francisco, drama students to the Linnea Festival in Folsom, cheerleaders to Disneyland for a cheerleading competition, band going to Disneyland to perform next at the end of this month. Boosters help softball batting cage. Their scholarship being 4 athletes, 2 females and 2 males for $1,000 each. So, just a lot going on like every other school site, and we just want to let you know that we thank our teachers so much and our staff and our administration. We just have an amazing team. Our administration comes to all our events, all the drama, dance, all our sporting events. We've got so many sporting events every day at night, and their meetings, and we're very happy group of family. We call each other the Viking family. Actually, I took that from our principal. And so we're just very excited. We're a group of parents that just love supporting our kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you again for all your hard work. We're going to take a 10-minute break so you all can take pictures, and then we'll resume with public comment. Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order. Okay, coming back to order, we're going to go to C11. Maybe the principals in the front row want to lead by example and calm me down the crowd. Thank you. Outstanding. Okay, so we have public comment on items not on the agenda. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on items not on the agenda. It's a reminder that we are here to listen to your questions, comments, concerns, but we generally cannot comment back if the items are not agendized. And if you have a issue related to personnel, that you refrain from addressing that in public comment, but instead address them to Assistant Superintendent Spector. So, and if we could queue up on using both podiums, we have Janelle Payne. After that, Simone Spearman.
Okay, hello, good evening. So my name is Janelle Payne. I teach at Montgomery High School, and I am speaking tonight on a couple of issues. First, I wanted to say that I fully support SRTA in our efforts to secure a competitive salary and benefit package and improve teaching and learning conditions in an effort to attract and retain highly qualified educators in this district. The fact that 40% of our educators are in their first 5 years is a crisis. It's a crisis that has been created by this district's inadequate fiscal management and their misguided priorities. I want you to know that I stand firmly behind my negotiating team. The second issue I'd like to speak on is related also to our attract and retain crisis, and that is working conditions. I was disappointed to hear just today about a new credit recovery possibility being offered to students. While I understand the need for these opportunities, I do not believe a student who has failed an entire semester of Math 1, for example, should be able to make up that semester's worth of credit over the course of just 4 days. This is exactly the proposal for next week. Yes, spring break's credit recovery course. 4 days, 4 hours per day. In 16 hours next week, a student can recover a semester's worth of learning, practice, and with any luck, mastery of content. Allowing a student the opportunity to recover credits that quickly and easily completely undermines the classroom teacher and what we do in our classrooms. Why would an already less than motivated student participate in my rigorous course if they knew they could blow off my class and recover the credits in a week? These opportunities lead to students acting out during class with any response to redirection being, I'll just take this class in Cyber High. I'll just take this class in summer school. Or the classic, I'm transferring to Ridgeway. Again, I understand the need for these opportunities, especially as we transition to the new A to G requirements with too few supports in place for struggling students. But the district must reassess its credit recovery options to allow for the recovery of lost credits while not simultaneously undermining the classroom teachers. Since I have remaining time, I want to make it clear that is not a slight against Ridgeway. Students that are transferring there go there and they earn their units, their credits, I understand. What I don't like is that they stop working in my class in the meantime, but that's a separate issue. I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Simone Spearman, then Micah Carlin Goldberg. You can just start.
Okay. Hello, my name is Simone Spearman. Superintendent Kitamura, board members, thank you for your service. Thank you for your commitment to serving the community. My husband is the new president of the Russian River Fire District, and I absolutely understand the time and effort it takes to sit on a board and represent the community with equity and compassion for all. I have taught in 2 public schools for over 20 years. I have been a teacher at Pioneer High School for 16 years. This sweatshirt is the first piece of SRTA union clothing I've ever purchased. The last time I prepared remarks for public comment section at a school board meeting, I was 16 years old living on Bainbridge Island, Washington, and my heart was pounding just as hard as it is right now. Many of you on the school board know me, and many of you know I am a good teacher. But I am finding it very hard to stay in this district. I am finding it very hard to stay at my beloved school. Years ago, when the No Child Left Behind Act and the highly paid educational consultants waltzed in and forced our English department to stop teaching novels, I stayed at Piner. When teachers left Piner due to the program improvement restrictions, I stayed at Piner. When a former assistant superintendent forced our department to place struggling students in regular non-A through G English classes, I stayed at Piner. When I watched my fellow teachers obtain part-time jobs at Trader Joe's just for the health care, I stayed in this district. When I watched my fellow teachers transfer to other districts, sharing with me their increases in pay and their better health care benefits, I stayed in this district. When I watched good teachers leave the classroom to become administrators in order to pay the bills, I stayed in the classroom. I stayed in this district. I stayed at Piner. I stayed in the classroom. I love Piner High School. I love my students. I love teaching. I love education. At Stanford, I earned both my bachelor's in English and my master's in education. I knew I wasn't in this profession for the riches, but I thought I would certainly earn COLAs. Small annual cost of living increases to keep my head above water. Members of the board, Santa Rosa City Schools teachers are below the rising waters. We are struggling to stay afloat. The emergency is now. The rainy day is now. The people of California and the governor of California gave Santa Rosa City Schools a 3.7 COLA for this school year. And they plan to give Santa Rosa City Schools a 3.4 COLA for next year. Please listen to the teachers. We need to go forward and not backward.
Thank you. Micah Carlin Goldberg, and then Catherine Howell. Micah?
Well, that's a tough act to follow. I'll do my best, though. So, good evening, school board members and Superintendent Kitamura. My name is Micah Carlin Goldberg. I teach 6th grade at Steel Lane Elementary. I'm here to speak about the disrespect and attacks on educators in Santa Rosa City Schools as evidenced by the board policy acknowledgement requirements imposed on SRTA this year. Last meeting, my union brother Mike Converse spoke about this topic and about listening. I am a data and numbers person. I did what comes naturally to me, research. I implore you to listen to what I found. This is my 4th year in the district, which means this is the 4th time I have received the acknowledgement of board policy and administrative regulations from Santa Rosa City Schools. In the packet you've been handed, you'll find first the email from some fancy new software they use to track our signatures. Wonder how much that cost. Then this year's document, as well as the 2 I received the first 2 years. I couldn't find last year's. This year was a marked change from previous years. This year, new threatening and intimidating language was added to the document sent to educators in Santa Rosa City Schools. Additionally, this year, the document has new language asking us to certify we understood everything we read in the 99 pages of documents listed. I'm not a lawyer. I read them. It took hours outside of my contract day. I can't say I fully understood everything. That would have taken research and far more time than I have. Previously, the language only said read and received. That language itself is problematic as it does not conform to Santa Rosa City Schools Board Policy 4112.9, but we'll get back to that. Because of this new language and the time required to fully read and understand every board policy, there was a change to our working conditions. SRTA sent a cease and desist letter in your packet to SRCS requesting the threats be rescinded and the language be changed to match the law, which is simply acknowledgement of receipt. SRCS waited 20 days to respond. In fact, on the last day of their deadline to sign under threat of termination. Despite SRTA requesting a quick response, their response was incredibly disrespectful and disingenuous. The final paragraph of their response quoted SRCS board policy, which states the district shall provide employees with the following notifications and shall obtain signed acknowledgement that the notifications were received, so when required by law or district policy or regulations. Note, your board policy says nothing about read or understood, nor does the board policy of 7 other districts in the county, including the County Office of Education, in your packet, or the dozen more outside the county, which I pulled up with a brief web search. I didn't include those. SRCS then claimed that mandating that employees sign an acknowledgement does not constitute a change in working conditions. The change in working conditions was requiring us to read 99 pages of documentation closely enough to sign a legal document stating we understood the contents of every single page. I would have to spend every minute of my prep for more than a month to come close to meeting that expectation. That is an unreasonable change to my working conditions. Due to SRCS's lack of timely response, SRTA provided a document to members allowing us to follow the law, acknowledging receipt of the documents while not putting us in the untenable position of claiming to have read all the board policies within our contract day. Do the right thing. Listen and respect your staff. Follow your own board policy. Change the language. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have extra copies for anybody who wants them, and they're going on the internet.
Catherine Howell. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to change the conversation for just a second and hope that you will join me in congratulating the Lawrence Cook Mustangs in their top 3 finish in the North Bay Science Challenge over the weekend. They worked tirelessly after school, during lunch, for months to get ready for the competition, led by science teacher Jessica McNiff. And they had a great showing on Saturday and a really great finish. Go Mustangs. And along with that, I would like to, I don't know if it's very formal because it's just coming from a teacher at Lawrence Cook Middle School, but I'd like to invite every member of the board to come around to Lawrence Cook Middle School, spend some time. You're welcome to stay and join my classes any day of the week. Come on in, see what's going on at Cook, meet the kids, have some lunch, or, hang out with the students in their brunch time and come into our classes and see what's going on at Cook, because we have a lot of really wonderful students at Lawrence Cook Middle School, and we want the board to see them and meet them and be aware of what's going on. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to reports, CSEA, Tammy Afonso.
Tammy is unable to join us this evening. I think she might have a speaker, though.
Where's that voice coming from?
My apologies, President Close. It's that omnipresent voice.
God is always with us, but I just...
My apologies. She had asked that I share that she was unable to join us this evening, sends her regrets.
Whew, thank you. Okay, we'll miss President Afonso tonight. We'll move on to SRTA President Lyon.
Good evening, President Close, Superintendent Kitamura, and members of the board, members of the community. I'm William Lyon. I'm the president of Santa Rosa Teachers Association, representing 961 educators in our district. I want to follow my brothers and sisters who are urging you to help us make a deal so that we can move on with life. I would say to go back to normal, but I'd actually like to do better than normal because our normal had room for improvement. So the 27th is a real important day, and I'm personally looking forward to making a deal and going to the next thing. I hope that's the way it goes. But I'll leave it there for that, and I want to say that my heart is heavy for the members who are getting non-elect notices and reduction in force notices. I had a conversation with Stacy today, and we talked about how we're working on limiting those, and that as we get more information, we can work on rescinding those as possible under the law. And I'm grateful for that, and it's still a really hard week. So I just wanted to mention that, and I want to say to our members that my heart is heavy for you for that, and that, Catherine, your speech is finished. it's a tough time. If you're a teacher and you get a non-elect notice, that's a breakup letter, right? And it's under the law, and we do it for reasons that are valid and honorable and good, and it's hard to get one. And when we do a reduction in force, that's somebody we want to keep, and we don't know yet whether or not we'll be able to, and we have to notice them. Those are just as hard. Even though you've got those rehiring rights, it's just hard to get one. So for our members, I hope you'll join us at Steel and Hops on Friday at 3:30. Whether you get one of those notices or not, come down with your friend who did, and you can cry on our shoulder. It's a wine and wine event. There isn't necessarily much we can do because these are all under the law, and it's because of the parameters that we see in the district. So none of that is meant to be dismissive or angry. It's just a tough time. So I want to thank principals and other district administrators in advance for treating those teachers gently. Imagine finding out in second period you don't have a job next year and going back to third period. That's pretty rough. And you got to tell them. That's the rule. So thanks for letting me say that. Thanks for being gentle about it. And I look forward to lots of great things happening when we come back from the break on the 27th. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have an LMC report tonight?
For the LMC report, we actually canceled for a good reason this week. We have a team, including Tammy Afonso, at the LMI conference on Monday and Tuesday, along with Sandy Garcia, Jason Andrews, and Linda Zabala. And then they're going to be at the Cal Turn conference in Elk Grove at the end of this week, and Cindy Brennan, Director of Human Resources, will join them. And so they will bring back that knowledge and learning and share next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's interesting, President Lyon, that we always seem to be something that we agree on, what you say and then what I'm going to say, and that really is about remembering my own time when I received a non-reelect and how that felt, and that I vowed at that time that I would never want any staff that I work with to feel that way, no matter the process that has to happen, that we are still human beings that need to be treated as such. And that our philosophy under my leadership is that we won't do blanket non-reelects or blanket layoffs. We're going to be very precise and specific because it's hurtful. It's hard to be on the end of receiving a non-reelect. Anyway, so I did want to say that and know that our staff is going to be there to help make this as easy as possible, although it is not easy during these difficult and challenging times. Next, I wanted to talk about what Catherine Howell talked about, and that was the wonderful experience that Cook and Burbank, and I thought I saw Mr. Ross here. Yeah, where is he? Oh, he had to go. Okay, he was here. Mr. Ross Haas was here because I asked him for some information, too, about the North Bay Challenge this last weekend. And as Catherine said, Cook did extremely well. It's their fourth year of participation. And I was fortunate Mr. Haas sent me this wonderful write-up. And this is what I want to say, because I didn't realize this, that Burbank is the longest consecutive participant in this event dating back to the 1990s. Were you starting it? Did you start it? Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome. And Ross and Ann West are the coaches, and they had two teams, 32 kids total, 4th through 6th grade. They had, just humor me because this is so awesome. 1st and 2nd place in aerodynamics, 1st and 2nd place in Tower of Strength, 1st in catapults, 1st in Critters Are Us, 1st in Picture This, 1st in the Naked Egg Drop, 3rd in the whirly birds, that's the rotocopters. So that's so awesome. I want to give you a hand. Yes, 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 yes. And Mr. Haas sent this back to me because I said, oh, he was talking about how he didn't feel like maybe they did as well as they did in the past, but I think those were great stats. And I said, hey, it's about the journey, you know, it's really the fun that you have all along the way. And he wrote science, comma, smiles and being a part of a team equals the formula for happy learning. So I thought that was great. So, yeah. And then I wanted to share about a wonderful thing that happened in terms of professional development, and that was co-teaching training that occurred in March 5th through 7th for 3 days. We had numerous, it was really designed for middle school, but we also had high school staff come as well, and it was so well received that they want more training, which I think is wonderful. And just a reminder about what co-teaching is. Co-teaching occurs when 2 or more educators co-plan, co-instruct, co-assess a group of students with diverse needs in the same general education class. So this will be rolling out as we come through the years here from 7th to 8th to 9th. They are talking about more training because the teachers want that. They're looking at April 11th as another possible day for training. So I just really want to commend the principals who came to training, the teachers who attended the training, because when we talk about inclusive education, this is what we're talking about. This is very much inclusive education. On that note, I want to speak about one more thing with regard to SDC. SDC is you're gonna see some changes with diplomas and how our SDC students are going to be able to earn a high school diploma. In the next 4 years with our current population, it is expected that we'll have 63 SDC students earn a high school diploma. And I want to recognize some teachers who have worked diligently on this. I want to recognize from Elsie Allen, Lori Clark, Daryl Coriel, Kristen Durr, Peter Johnson, and Michael Otto. From Piner, I want to recognize Corina Flores, Neil Stratham, Tim Christensen, and Catherine Jorgensen. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent. In my report, I'll keep it brief. I went to my first day of being on the CSBA Legislative Committee. That was exciting. It was a full day in Sacramento with a pretty small group of people, about 20 people from across the state. It was jam-packed, fast-paced, looking at all kinds of bills and whether or not we were going to support them or ask for them to be amended and or oppose them, all around education. And most of them really, like everything around our fights in education, had to do about funding. One of the things that, and I will report back after our next meeting in May about what we actually decided to support or oppose. But they also gave a report on their progress with pushing forward a full and fair funding bill. And this is something that CSBA has been working very hard on for a long time and is gathering organizational partners to bring our funding up to a reasonable level. And it's interesting, they reported some polling results, and I was surprised to learn that more than half of the citizens of California believe that our educational system is funded at least on average as the rest of the country, even though, as we know, it's in the bottom 20%. So that was surprising, but what was pleasantly surprising is that even though more than half of the people think that we are funded at average or better, 68% of them would still vote to spend more money on education. So I thought that bodes really well for an effort to educate the public and get them involved in forcing the state to fund us at a level that will allow us to fund our schools, support our students, and compensate our staff in the way that they should be. So that's the end of my report. And which brings us to the consent agenda. We are pulling, the superintendent wanted to pull E2, and we also have a blue card. Superintendent, do you want to speak to E2?
Yes, I'll turn this over to Assistant Superintendent Spector.
So we know that we have a timeline when we have to present these, and we've had some changes since then that we think are important and need to be brought forward. The first on the top, you should have a page in front of you that has 3 asterisks. We wanted to provide those changes to the board personnel transactions report. The first is a promotion with a start date to be determined of Director Debbie Cardoza as principal of Burbank Elementary. She's here, or was. So. And reach under your seats, everyone. There will be a gift. I mean, that was so exciting to see. The second as well, and I believe that I saw her earlier, while we were saddened for the resignation from the board, we are pleased to announce that Evelyn Anderson will be the interim principal at the French American Charter School. And the third is a correction from the first posting of this. The bottom 4th line up, that position is actually a resignation and not a termination. So with that, we would ask that these please be moved back to consent and approved.
Thank you. I have a blue card on this. Micah Carlin Goldberg.
We good? Okay. Good evening, school board members and Superintendent Kitamura, again. My name's still Micah Carlin Goldberg, and I still teach at 6th grade at Steel Lane Elementary. I'm here today to talk about the SRCS Attract and Retain Crisis. You may ask why I'm talking about this during our personnel transactions report, because data speaks volumes, and this is where the data lies. I'm nearing the end of my 4th year in the district, and according to the most recent seniority list, I am above 236 other certificated employees, 34.8% of the way up the list. Things are so bad, so many people have fled our district that we have had to replace more than 1/3 of our teachers, counselors, psychologists, speech and language pathologists, and nurses in the last 3 years. Some of those positions have been replaced multiple times. We can't even hire enough people to fill the open positions, as evidenced by the 38 open positions yesterday on EdJoin for this school year. Since the beginning of the school year, 20 educators have resigned, most with an end date before the end of this school year. Another 14 have already put in their retirement papers. Of the 20 who resigned, 17 have been with the district less than 5 years. Of note, one resignation was a nurse. She lasted 12 days in our district before leaving for greener pastures. We still have 2 vacant nurse positions. I wouldn't call our attract and retain issue a crisis. It is a catastrophe. If we keep this up, soon a significant majority of certificated employees will have been in the district less than 10 years. If you look at the paper I just gave you, 50% are already there. SRCS is looking to make this even worse by giving reduction in force notices, commonly pink slips. We had heard 50. I'm glad to hear that it's a much lower number. If it was 50, like originally we had heard, that would be nearly half of the educators hired in the last 2 years. We need to change the priorities in our funding. Tonight, you are looking to approve money for yet another incredibly overpaid consultant who is slated to get approximately 43% of my monthly take-home per hour. Instead, spend it on people who interact with children. Get the cuts away from the classrooms. Spend our money on those who have the greatest impact, the people who work directly with the students every day. Solve our attract and retain catastrophe by putting educators first in your budget, because when you don't put those who work directly with the students first, you're putting the students last. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Evelyn, who apparently just has one name now. Evelyn Anderson.
Evelyn Anderson. And forgive me, I don't know if I should wait till the F item or go ahead now, because I don't know where to split myself, whether I'm being hired or resigning. So
I think you could do either. So
okay, I'll go ahead now. I just want to say that serving on the board was an incredible experience, and it's just too bad I have to step down in order to take this incredible opportunity that I just couldn't pass up. It just speaks to my heart so much. But I did want to say that being on the board was so meaningful, because everything you do impacts the lives of thousands of students and their families and the personnel who serve them. And I want to thank you all for serving and for stepping up to do that, because Being on the board, you get to see the vast network of people who are so committed every day to what we do in this district. And it's so impressive to see that everything that goes into keeping our schools moving and serving our students and bringing them education. And I just want to applaud everybody who works in that arena. Thank you, Superintendent Kitamura, for hours spent answering questions and for integrating each of us onto the board. And thank you for giving your heart and soul to this district. On a personal note, I have to say to Superintendent Kitamura and the cabinet and President Close and other board members, thank you for your support after the fires and just helping me get back on my feet, because that was a big deal. I know that the job of the board member is super complex, very nuanced, and often very difficult. But I know you'll find a wonderful replacement, and I hope that you'll consider diversity of thought as a really positive benchmark, because throughout history, different perspectives and different ideas in leadership groups are what makes powerful leadership groups. And even if you're not swayed by hearing a different perspective, especially as elected officials, it's really important to know that that may not be a one-off. That may very well be what people throughout our community think and feel. So it's important to just know that. I just also kind of wanted to just throw out too, in case anybody's listening or watching, thank you for all the people who have emailed and stopped me in the street to say that they did appreciate something I said or a perspective that I brought to the board. It's been great to work with all of you and the district staff, and I think we worked hard on a lot of very difficult topics, and the impact of what you do will impact students for years to come. So thank you so much for my new opportunity, and thank you for my old opportunity, and I just wish you all the best.
Thank you, Principal Anderson. Appreciate your comments, and best of luck in your new role. Okay. So anybody have questions or comments on E2, and if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move for the approval of item E2, personal transactions.
Second.
Moved by Director Sheffield, second by Director Medina. Roll call vote, please.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director Medina?
Aye.
Director Manieri? Director McCormick?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
Director Mackin?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And we also, Director Manieri wanted to pull item E9.
I just had a quick question about E9. What is the funding source for this position?
Superintendent Close, board members, this is Superintendent Kitamura. The funding source is completely funded from the child care. It does not reach into the general fund. That fund has been able to carry a surplus for the last couple of years, and we still expect it to do so even with this new supervisor position.
Thank you. Anything else? Other questions, comments? Okay, I think that I could take a motion for E1 and E3 through 9. Is that?
Just clarification, was E7 pulled?
E10, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, E7 is also pulled. No, now I'm all confused. This is the third confusion of the night, I think, and it's so early. No, I was going to pull E7, and then I decided not to pull E7 because instead we're going to do a report. I had forgotten already. Okay, so we need a motion on this. One for the books, E1 and E3 through 10.
Move the approval of E1 and E3 through 10.
I second.
Moved by Director Sheffield and second by Director Manieri. Roll call vote, please.
Director Sheffield? Aye. Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
Director Medina?
Aye.
President Close? Aye. Director Mackin?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, and that brings us to our F agenda, starting with F1, discussion item, school site reports.
All right, good evening. We will have our principal reports tonight, and I thought we'd go in order, elementary, middle, and high. So with that, we'll turn it over to Brook Hill Elementary School, Principal Guadalupe Perez Cook.
Good evening, President Close, Superintendent Kitamura, and members of the board. I'm the very proud principal of Brook Hill Elementary School. Brook Hill is located east of the fairgrounds, and a lot of our students, 4 large buses transport our students from the fairgrounds area. And in front of you, you see that these demographics were taken for the California dashboard in 2017-18. Our enrollment was 469 in 2017 and 460 in 2018. That doesn't mean that that's how many students we had on campus any given time. That what it means is that that's how many students came through our school during that school year. We see our socioeconomic disadvantage, we dropped by about 1%, and then our English learners are about 65%. These are our members. We're very proud that we have parents involved in all our committees. And I want to point out that you see Mr. Juarez's name up there several times. He is very, very involved in our district. He has, and not only, I'm proud of Mr. Juarez because he comes to committees and he speaks to the board and just to the different committees that he's at. He's grown in his leadership roles at our site. In terms of the LCAP, our district goal is there, and I want to point out our site goals based on our site plan, which is to increase student literacy, writing, and math overall by 5% using multiple measures. And our site goal 2 is to basically increase our chronic absenteeism and tardiness by 0.5%, which is the same percentage that is in our LCAP. Currently, we're at 93.5% in terms of our absenteeism, and we know that we need to work on this and do better. Our goal is 95% or higher. One way that we're doing this is that our students, is by having fun activities at our site. Our students really like to go to outdoor ed, and we have that as part of one of the activities at our site, and because they wanna be at school, to attend this activity, our students are present at school. Our theory of action, you see the items in bold, although we're working on everything here. I wanted to point out the theory of actions in bold, to confront and address issues of equity and access, engage in problem solving through an inquiry cycle of growth, lead and guide focused professional learning, recognize and implement quality instruction, target and align resources, and use our data to inform our cycle of inquiry and whether our students are making growth. As you've seen this before, this is the cycle of inquiry. I'm gonna skip that. In terms of this, I wanted to point out that at one time, last spring we started with all the staff being trained in a cycle of inquiry, and we came up with a question. But this fall, our question was around writing across the content. And then this fall, we thought it was such a large scope that we narrowed it down to this question. How do we implement close and analytic reading to help students progress through the OK task levels 1, 2, and 3? Our goal is to have our students do depth of knowledge task 3, because if they can do depth of knowledge task 3, that means that they're able to respond to the questions on our state standardized tests. We analyzed our evidence through multiple measures, our SBAC scores, Let's Go Learn, and our DIBELS, and our focus areas to get our students answering depth of knowledge level 3, because if they can answer those types of questions, that means they understand it, and then it transferred into DOK 4, which is a project in the inference, and then we hope to see results in our SBACs when we're able to answer these types of questions. We are using a graphic organizer called the RACE. That graphic organizer is helping our English language learners in terms of organizing their thoughts and being able to respond to DOK 3 questions. It stands for record, analyze, cite response, and evidence from text, and also expanding on that evidence. And we're using this form in various programs. One of those is in our Walk to Read program, when we're using Wonders, and our units of study also is another area where we're using this graphic organizer. And the impact that we are expecting is that if our students are able to respond to DOK 3 questions, that increases their comprehension. If they can understand, then they'll be able to respond to our state testing questions. Here's some of the data that we use for a cycle of inquiry, and then also just data in general. For the past 3 years, 2016 through 2018, our students are leaving with an average of 54.2% of them at grade level. In 6th grade, 62.9% of them are at grade level leaving our site. These are the various data points. And I really want to point out our reclassification numbers. We went from 61 students to 24. We dipped last year. We're looking at, well, what caused this dip? It could be because of the fires, we don't know. In 2017. And then this year, in your report, I made a slight change. I think you had 92 or 93 in your report, and I updated this today. We have 95 students to date reclassified at our site. And one of the things that we also are looking at is our tier 2 support, multi-tier support systems and our student study teams. Those are the number of referrals we've had since 2016, 70, in 2017, 52, and to date we have 24. We see that reduction. We believe part of that reduction is the systems that we have in place in terms of supporting students. We support students that are below grade level through our Walk to Read. We also support students who are above grade level, and everybody in between. So we challenge on both ends our students. And they get 40 minutes of intervention support a day. Here's our Let's Go Learn data. I would like to point out that our comprehension overall scores have increased from first trimester to second trimester. In some cases, our students above grade level, it has increased overall from school-wide by 10%. So I wanted to point that out. I'm very proud of all the work that our staff is doing at Brook Hill and making sure that our students are making gains in their academics. So this is reading, Dora, and this is our math. You also see that we've made some gains in math. Not as much in our above, but we have made significant gains in our proficient, almost by 20 points from one semester to the next. So once again, I am extremely proud of the staff, and I think some of this that's attributing to the success, besides the great instruction that's happening at Brook Hill, is that we have a continuum, program in everyday math that's kinder through 6th grade, and so there's some continuity there. So I think that's supporting some of our work. I wanted to show you the race. This is the graphic organizer that our students use, just so that you know what it kind of looks like. And and by answering this, they're able to, at the end, the thing that we're working to still is explaining and elaborating the responses. That's something that they have the R and the A and the C, and we're still working on getting that E down. And I wanted to share this video. This video is showing the students, supported by their teacher, they're doing a viable argument around no hats and hats in the classroom. It's just a short clip. It's not the entire clip, but it'll just represent a little bit of how they're doing. Oh, I hope the volume. Where's the volume? Please excuse that. I did try it many times and it was great. So I don't know what's going on with technology. But basically there's one side that's for the hats and the other side that's not for the hats. And they're very articulate, the students are, and they're giving they did a research around this, and then based on their research, they wrote their, whether they were for or against it, and they wrote their argument. And in this clip, if the volume was working, you would hear the teacher kind of support some of that, ask a question so that they could continue their conversation. Okay. Can I go to the next one? How do I? Watch it work when we're not needing it to work, right? Okay. Let me exit. Oh, that one? Okay, I see it. Good. Okay. So I wanted to share some of our work. The leadership team has been working along with the staff in terms of our theory of action. We are working together in terms of our cycle inquiry. Our question is how to implement close and analytic reading to help students progress through DOK tests at level 1, 2, and 3. And using this graphic organizer, we are calibrating. We still need to calibrate as a site. Because what we realized is as a staff that we taught the graphic organizer a little different, and so then we need to calibrate our schema around the graphic organizer in terms of our walk to read, that in our units of study and our wonders, those are the programs in which the graphic organizer was being used. And so we also looked at our data, and that has helped us determine whether our students are really making growth in being able to complete this race graphic organizer, because if they can comprehend, and that's demonstrated in our data in terms of our comprehension scores, then we know that our students are making growth in understanding the graphic organizer. Some of our, in terms of coherence, you see that everything needs to work together. Our LCAP goal number 1, basically what it's telling us is that our students need to be college and career ready, and so we're doing that by preparing our students and making sure that they're increasing their literacy, writing, and overall math scores by 5% using multiple measures. Our question of inquiry is how do we implement close and analytic read to help students progress to DOK 3 tasks 1, 2, and 3, and our goal is to make sure that they thoroughly understand and are able to respond to DOK 3, because if they're able to do that, again, it transfers to our SBAC scores, and we're hoping to see, not just hope, but we expect actually to see growth in our SBAC scores this year, because we're using, we're calibrating ourselves, and we're also all on the same page in terms of how we're teaching this. And our theory of action, those are the areas that we're working on through multiple measures. And our evidence of impact, or some most significant evidence, is the reclassification of our 95 students, not 93, followed by our students making gains in our LGL. Also, our DIBEL scores are making gains in both English, language arts, and math and LGL. And our staff continues to calibrate around quality instruction. And like I mentioned before, we are expecting to see gains in our SPAC scores. And our challenges, yes, we're not perfect. We have challenges, you know. We worked hard at Brook Hill, and some of our challenges are, again, calibrating around our schema so that we don't have to teach this calibrating our schema around our race organizer, so we don't have to teach how to go through this organizer every year. The kids will just know how to do it because we have all taught it the same way. Targeting and align our resources and schedule around our Walk to Read program. It's tricky, and we refine it every year. In academics, we want our students leaving at grade level in comprehension, leaving third grade reading at grade level in the area of comprehension. And of course, we want them to know their math facts, their basic math facts, because that supports the higher math skills that they'll need up the grades. And socially, emotionally, our counseling services, you know, we currently do have kids that are on a wait list, and so we're hoping that someday that won't happen. We'll have enough support for everybody. Having timely data for our Best Plus referrals so we can analyze that data and determine our next steps. And lastly, we need to work on getting to that 95% attendance rate. And here are some pictures. The first picture in the corner with the boys in the box, of the twins, that's our activities from our student engagement. This all ties into our LCAP and our site plan, and they all work to, you know, we all fund everything based on, we have the LCAP, and then we have our site goals, and then we fund it according to what activities we want on campus. And so our student engagement funded by our LCAP. We value our students' culture. That's the picture in the middle. We have a large Hispanic population. We have a music program, and then we offer assemblies for our students to keep them engaged in coming to school and hopefully boost our attendance. And we do work with agencies in the community, like the health department, Sonoma County Health Department, and they do some health screening for our students. And we also are proud of how we engage our families. We participate in activities around the county, such as the Sonoma County Ag Days, and I was there yesterday. And one of our students won the big grand prize. She won a plaque, and we were very proud of her. Yeah, she took it all. She did a PowerPoint all by herself. And I want to thank you for this opportunity to be here today to share and invite you to come to our open house, just like our PFO president did, and enjoy the goods there. Some good comida, that's right, good food there. So Brook Hill Bobcats rock, and thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. Principal Tucker.
Oh. Will it get larger? Okay. All right, good evening. Good evening, President Close, new and returning board members, and Superintendent Kitamura. My name is Mitch Tucker. I am a first-year principal, not a new principal, but a first-year principal at Slater Middle School. And it is my pleasure to be here, and I want to thank the board and the cabinet for this opportunity, so thank you. All right, so our first slide here, of course, is LCAP goals. Everyone has seen the LCAP goals, and I always like to add, you know, they guide our path and our vision as a school, and me as a leader. And I'd like to think of them as our academic goal. The first goal is an academic goal, and goal number 2 is kind of our social, emotional goal, or our cultural and environmental goal on our campus. The theory of action that I have up here is highlighted with the items in red. I consider those to be things that we're working on all of these at all times. But the items in red here as a first-year principal, and with some of my goals that I wanted to accomplish as a first-year principal. Those are the ones that I've been focused on. The three main things that I've been focused on as a first-year principal, of course, is building relationships, and that's been number one. My focus has been on our school climate and our school environment. I felt like that was a need, and that was what I heard from my staff, that our school climate environment was a need, and so that's been a focus. And then student engagement, that's something that we've been focusing on as well, to line up with this theory of action. Our SIPSA goals, our site plan goals, once again, I think of these as academic. Goal number one, all students will have equitable access to a district and state standards-based curriculum with comprehensive instructional strategies that support college and career readiness. That's our academic goal. Goal two, increase student and family engagement to build a stronger school community. These were in place when I started this year in July, and I think that they do align well with our district LCAP goals, but I, as the new site leader, will do my best to make sure that, that we adjust these or make them fit the direction that we want to go in the future. So, thank you. Here's a little bit about who we are. We are a total of 2 grades, 7th and 8th, of course. We're 758 kids. We got pretty much an equal split down the middle there of 7th and 8th graders. Our English learners at about 127 this year, 17% approximately. Students with disabilities, the same. So looking at those numbers together, a pretty large number of students that we need to support in many ways. So that is something that is a focus of ours. And then our socioeconomically disadvantaged numbers, 55%. Slater Strong, I like that symbol up there of Randy's arms. He said we could use that, so thank you, Randy. Oh, how did that happen? I don't know, it's smaller. It's usually, okay, so you're not seeing everybody here, but this is our site council. And we have a nice diverse range of representation on our site council. 2 students, and you'll notice, you can't see it on here, but Ava Parmalee is our chair, and we have a student chair. So she stepped up and wanted to do that, and we were more than happy. Great leadership student. We have 2 parents. We have a veteran teacher and a newer teacher. Our classified employee is Maria Fajardo, and she is our family engagement facilitator as well. So she's a great resource for us to reach out to our parents. So I'm afraid to hit something. Do you think? Okay, all right. These are representatives of our ELAC and our DLAC and our DAC committee. And so I'd like to thank them personally. They've been great. Our ELAC, English Language Advisory Committee, has grown this year, and so I'm excited about that. And give a shout out to my assistant principal, Jessica Romero. She's been heading that and doing a great job, so I really appreciate all that work. But Maria Mercado Huitone and Rocio Angulo, Rosa Rosales, and Maria Isabella Mina. Really appreciate all they've done for us. Thank you. The inquiry cycle. The next slides are going to kind of go through these phases. A couple slides for each phase I think I've got set up here to kind of show where we're at. So back in September, we started developing a cycle of inquiry question with principals. I think it was September, it was early in the year. And being a first-year principal, I was aware that they had a cycle of inquiry, question that they wanted to establish and develop that they had in the past. But as a first-year principal, I took kind of a broad focus with this question. And really what you see there, how can we support our EL students, was the beginning of my question back in September. And as the years gone on, I've added to it because we do have a number of struggling students that I want to add to that. And then our RSP students are gonna be included in regular education classes for math and language arts next year. So I've expanded it to really kind of target those 3 areas for our students that I think that we need to look at evidence and figure out how we can target those students and improve their education. Our number of EL students has been pretty consistent over the last year, but it has been, but that is a bigger number if you were to look at it, say in the past 5 years. So that is a growing number and something that we know that we're going to address. We also checked some data when I talked about struggling students. We checked data after the second quarter, and we did have a drop in a half grade point in a much larger number of students, half grade point GPA from the first quarter to the second quarter. So that was something that we wanted to target when we looked at that evidence. And then we have had students, it's a small amount, but at a higher rate that have really required our kind of social and emotional support up in our counseling office and what the administrators have. So that's something that we want to address as well. For the ELs, next year, of course, having designated classes for our EL students is going to be a focus, and it's going to be an area that we're already starting to work on now to make sure that that is in place and that I have teachers that are ready and prepared for that. We have our designated ELD classes will match their LPAC levels, and then of course we're going to continue to monitor them for 2 years, the students that have been reclassified. And looking at our reclassification rates, 27% last year, and we're hoping that 21 is going to go up and that we'll be at least on pace this year, but that is a goal to make sure that those numbers go up. When I talked about students that struggle, we have some systems in place, I think, and I would love to give a shout out to these people that do so much every day at the middle school level. Everybody knows what it's like. Most of you have raised middle schoolers, so it takes a village. And it really is a few, when you look at our pyramid here, that require a lot of time. And we have developed a cost team, a coordinated support team that includes all of these support groups. And then we've also have multi-tiered systems of supports for the different areas. And so we're working on having our cost team develop a list of students that we meet every week. And so we can target exactly, maybe one student's having just troubles with behavior, maybe they're having trouble with attendance and academics. So it really gives us the ability through this cost team to kind of target students and what they're struggling in and how we can support them. Focusing on RSP students and how we're gonna support them. Next year, of course, at the 7th grade level, the full inclusion model is going to happen for ELA and math. And I'm really excited about the buy-in that my teachers have shown during the training that we just had. I had 6 teachers there. I think everyone that helped us get the subs and my other staff that covered classes so we could do that. And their dedication and their buy-in to co-teaching was very refreshing and very positive, and I think they've inspired some of their other teachers going forward to have a great attitude towards that. Many of our teachers are experienced with being in the classroom with each other, and I kind of developed those teams because they do collabs together where they go into the classrooms and work already, so it was easy to form some of our teams, and we're excited about those teams. So when I came here this year, I also implemented a positive behavior intervention support system for low-level discipline. We call it the Spartan Pride page. My previous school, we used it as well. It was developed by a teacher, not myself, but we've tweaked it. The Pride page is designed to be consistent and efficient system to manage student behavior. that's considered low level, things like excessive talking or horseplay or chewing gum or all of those things. The Pride page allows them to be on the same page and have this consistent consequence for low-level issues. But perhaps most importantly, it also allows us to recognize students and have rewards for students that keep their Pride page clean for the week or for the month or for the quarter. And so we like to have that as a way, a small way to say thank you to our students, because sometimes our kids that are toeing the line, they don't always get a thank you. So I'm thankful for the support that my teachers have given me for implementing this Pride page. I knew it would be a big ordeal, but we've done it, and I'm very proud of them. That was Kat, yes. We have implemented the EL Excellence every day. In fact, we had a staff meeting today and did a second round of professional development with the EL Excellence, a guide to support EL learners in all departments, not just English language arts. So that has gone well. We did a small group share around today, and teachers got to brag about some of the different strategies that were in that guide and share with each other. So I was happy with that. So analyzing the results, this final phase, as we analyze our data, some things that stood out to me is that we really need to lower our D and F list. It needs to decline. Those percentages are too high. It should be a goal that our GPAs at least maintain and grow instead of what we saw in that first and second quarter. We did have some real positive growth so far in our suspension rates. Our suspension rates have really been down this year, and that's a lot of positive hard work by our counselors and by all that cost team and our administrators to give students alternatives to suspension. So I'm happy with that. And our reclassification percentage hopefully will continue, or to at least maintain and hopefully rise. These next goals are coherence slides. They're basically a recap of the cycle of inquiry and the process. But I do want to point out in the second goal, or the second slide of the coherence goals, what the evidence of impact has been so far and what we're seeing because of these things that we are putting in place. We are seeing that our reclassification rates are on pace. We're seeing that this cost team, as a result, does allow us to identify our students more quickly that need support and get them the support they need. And that our Pride page infractions, bless you, while they peaked in November, every month since, because they were trying to get used to the Pride page, every month since November, they have declined every month since then. So that's some great evidence that we're making some impact with that. Let's see. So our coherence goal 2, the evidence of impact there is that we have increased attendance for back to school night and our 6th grade parent night. So getting our community involved. I was told by my staff that both of those events had significant attendance gain this year, so I'm happy about that. Our ELAC has definitely had a slight increase, so we're excited about that. We want to continue that momentum. PTO has been a small group, and so that's going to be a goal of mine to make sure that we lift that participation up and work a little harder to get more PTO. I heard I've got a great group of 6th grade parents coming in, so I'm calling you out right now, 6th grade parents, for next year PTO. Thank you. And we've implemented Go Guardian technology, which monitors students on their computers so teachers can see instantly, so we're real excited about that. I believe Rincon Valley Middle School was doing that, and Artosa, Linda Castanis, thank you very much for implementing that. I've heard rave reviews from our teachers, so I'm really happy about that. Going forward, here are some of the additional strategies that we're want to do to support our Slater students. We want to see an increase of our SSTs, which we have. Right after we've been checking the quarterly checks, we've been very diligent about getting teachers and parents in. We have a new system of SSTs, which has been very efficient to get the information to parents. Primary language support is being utilized, which is great. and needed for our ELs. Data-based placement in reading and writing support is allowing students to be in the appropriate EL levels, either 1s and 2s or 3s and 4s, so that is being utilized. And we have a counselors club that we do once a week. Our counselors, kind of from our cost team, our support team, will actually meet with these students in the mornings in the library, and they will make sure that they're cleaning their backpacks. They'll make sure that they're working on their social skills, checking their pride pages, just communicating with them, just touching base and sending them into their day a little bit more organized. So that's been successful. So I thank my counselors, Shelley Schubert and Jessica Zapata. Thank you. They are doing amazing things. Some of our challenges. Okay, so I wrote on here, the bane of my existence is iPhones and technology at the middle school level. So student interactions with social media after school, that's something that I as a principal am concerned about and want to find ways, and I know part of that needs to be me reaching out to parents and having parent nights to talk about social media use. So that's a challenge, just general use of social media in negative ways. So making sure our students have a sense of purpose and empathy, knowing how important their middle school years are, going into high school and getting them prepared, especially in that 8th grade year. So that's something that we'll take on as a challenge. Transitioning to co-teaching is going to be a challenge, but we're going to meet it, and I'm excited about that next year. ELD support scheduling, because we will have all of our ELD students in classes, so that's something that will be a challenge, but we will handle it. Supervision, I say it's a challenge, but I also want to give a shout out to my staff because we have met that challenge this year. When I came this year, I was told that supervision was going to be a great challenge, and it has been, and it probably always will be, but our teachers volunteered to do that, and so I'm really, really excited about how much they've stepped up this year and to have the appropriate amount of adults out on campus. And an aging facility, actually I want to say thank you to the board because that is a challenge, and thanks because I heard that we're getting a new roof and a new HVAC system and new cameras this year. So while that's a challenge, I'm still very thankful for the board and the cabinet for making that happen. All right, just a few pictures here. Whoops, sorry. Got some PTO members on one of our paint nights having fun. So like I said, they're a small group, but they are active. They've been active with Dine and Donate, and I want to promote once again, for those that maybe didn't hear me earlier, that the human race is coming up, and so please use Herbert Slater if you participate, and President Close told me you don't even have to participate, you can still make a donation through the human race, so thank you, like that. May the 4th be with you on May 4th, that's the date. We have a great physical education program, and our sports are active. So I'm very pleased with that. I'd like to show off some pictures there. We had some motivational speakers come in, and the Montgomery Band and Choir to inspire kids to go on to the music programs at Montgomery. So that is a real treat for us and our students to have this gentleman, Keith Hawkins, who I had seen at the AXA Leadership Conference in Reno, did a great job. And a shout out to Miss Sandy Martin there. She does a great job with our leadership kids. Our Renaissance rallies are a very important part of our way to recognize students for academics and for achievement and for attendance. And so those are a lot of fun. We do 4 of those a year. We had a Disney theme, an Incredibles theme, and a Hollywood theme. And so I want to thank everyone that makes that happen. Our drama class, Miss Finfrock and her drama class put on a terrific performance. I would really encourage everybody to come to the spring performance later in the year. The kids also, in addition to their performance, did some cameo roles that touched on teen life topics that are maybe uncomfortable for people to hear about, and they did it with intensity, and it was outstanding, and it was a great night of theater. And then just a couple more photos here of our Spartan rock stars. Those pictures represent a lot of hard work, dedication, and fun that we have. And even in one of their cheesehead principal there. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next up, Principal Burbank.
All right. So first of all, I just want to say I think Montgomery's going to have some great students coming up, so thank you guys for your work. We'll be excited for that. I'm going to take a little deep breath real quick. I want to do a little disclaimer. There's a PowerPoint updated, the first version that you might receive after feedback from my admin staff, from my staff, but mainly from my 10-year-old and 8-year-old kids saying, Dad, that's too long. We are going to do the condensed version. That's so first of all, I just want to say good evening to the board and the superintendent. Also, again, I just want to do a little quick disclaimer. I was a speech and therapy student as an elementary kid, so if I do stumble on some words, please bear with me. We will get through them. I also want to do one more thing as I go to the next slide, is I'm very honored to be here in front of you tonight. For most of you guys who do not know me, in about 1996, I started as a walk-on volunteer coach at Santa Rosa High School. To be here in front of you, I'm in awe and in honor, so thank you for this opportunity. First things I'd like to do is welcome to the Viking family. Up there you will see our admin team. Without my admin team, I would not be able to do the things I do or find the energy to carry on. I like to, sitting right next to me is Miss Monique Luke. She's an assistant principal in her first year here at Montgomery High School. Next to her is Vika Yamas in the pink or salmon sweater. Also vice principal first year at Montgomery High School. And next to her is Mr. Aaron Harkey, assistant principal third year, assistant principal at Montgomery High School. With the team theme, to move our staff forward, you see right here our roles as site council members and roles. We are very blessed to have a diverse group of teachers, parents, and students to guide our decision making. Also within the team roles are ELAC officers, DLAC, and ELAC officers. Next, we see the Santa Rosa City LCAP goals. Goal 1s and goal 2s, I know you guys have seen those throughout the whole year, but these goals are a foundation that guides us in modeling and how we go forward at the school site. For example, Montgomery High School SIPA goals. Our goal 1 is to increase the numbers of students successfully completing A through G courses with a C or better in all grade levels, with a special emphasis on 9th and 10th graders. And our goal 2 is for Montgomery thrives on having a safe, welcoming, and inclusive climate for all students and families, so that all students are in their classes and ready to learn. One of the things I've been very blessed was I inherited a strong school from the former principal. So Montgomery will continue to extend and refine current student supports, investigating, collecting possible new supports, and deciding on implementing new interventions for students who are struggling. Again, a specific emphasis will be placed on engaging the staff in considering a bell schedule change to create embedded tutorial and academic support for all students. As part of the implementation supports, the staff will also be engaged in considering a school-wide instructional framework and their impacts to student performance. And Montgomery will also include the IB Learning Profile and AVID for all students. Here we see the Santa Rosa City School Theory of Actions. This is a great point of reference, our third point of reference for us. I'm just gonna focus kind of on 2 for us. Item C, confronting and addressing the issues of equity and access. Working with equity and access, we are working on access for all students to take at least 1 or more IB course at Montgomery High School. T, target and align resources. This year, as a staff, we added grade-specific, subject-specific guided study, which is in our Betty Day. In summary, it's a tier 2 support. We are looking at 9th grade students in math and English that are showing up, trying, and just need that extra little support. So we invite them to show and get the extra resources. Again, this is the support. A to G access for all students, including subgroups. Again, to provide a tier 2 intervention for students at risk of failing, and to provide support to students with different abilities, seeing to it that their needs are met with a sense of urgency and high expectations. We also noticed that intervention during the school day is more effective than after school. Also, intervention during the school day can be managed and monitored. Our cycle and inquiry. Again, you've seen this throughout the whole year. Again, we use this as our third point of reference to guide us, to keep us focused, to keep us on task. And it led us to our cycle. Again, for goal 1 was, how can Montgomery High School deepen learning through supporting IB and A through G for all students while simultaneously, thank you, continuing the AVID program? What are the ways that we can bridge IB and AVID? And for goal 2 is, how can we lower suspension rates while supporting the whole child through restorative practices, SAY services, soul counselors, Best Plus School, Safe School Ambassadors, the Stop It app, and the Link crew, we're hoping to start in the fall of 2019 in our College and Career Center. The reason for this is that we know that we're not the same staff that we were last year or 2 years before, or we be for 2 years from now. New staff needs to know our framework and our culture and how we operate so that they can more easily assimilate. We need to show how our programs work together rather than compete with one another. We also need an annual focus on our efforts on specific approaches and strategies. And so we came up with an instructional framework. We just like to call it the SHIP. In the SHIP, you will see that all students are on board. You will see that the oars pushing the boats are all departments. You see our rudders are IB, Common Core, and our focus, inquiry. For AVID, focus, inquiry activities at school might look like psychiatric seminars, philosophical chairs, quick writes, and discussions about deeper meaning. For example, the intersection of science and society and the value of honesty. As it ties in with our IEB, inquiry-based learning includes teaching methods built on students' individual knowledge and interests, on the emphasis of students taking ownership of their own learning. So our instructional approaches at Montgomery High School. So AVID and the IB curriculum are inquiry-based and aim to produce students who are college and career ready. Both AVID and IB implementations are directed towards generating a culture shift to college readiness for every student. Montgomery, like many other schools nationwide, have implemented both programs simultaneously in order to maximize the effort of each. So these are our instructional practices at Montgomery High School. To my left is the IB learning profile, but we have adopted it as our Viking family values. And to the right of me is the AVID. And the reasons why we're really focusing on the IB profile is because, it encourages to think independently and drive their own learning for students. Take part in programs of education that can lead them to some of the highest ranking universities around the world, and become culturally aware to the development of a second language, and also to be able to engage with people in an increasingly globalized and rapidly changing world. Whoops, I hit the wrong one. There we go. And the reason why, did I lose the cursor? I'm just trying to roll down. We could go to the next slide if needed. Yeah. Okay. Well, we could definitely go to that. I just want to touch bases why we do AVID, and pretty much why we do AVID is for equity, teacher efficiency, leadership, that's fine, and student learning, where students take ownership of their learning, and also where teachers lead to change the culture and the shift of the campus. That's fine. So I'm up and running. Awesome. So this did not happen overnight. So this is the theory of action for Montgomery High School. One of the things that we did, and actually you can see in the whiteboard, you can actually see the rough draft of the Viking ship. We embedded late start days, like we like to call, let's get our professional learning on. We tell our students to get their learning on. So as professionals, let's get our professional learning on too. We know that often the best learning comes from within a team. Each workshop is facilitated by a colleague. It runs about 40 to 45, 50 minutes. And we did these quarterly. This year, we're actually focusing those on our WAS. The year prior, it was peers teaching their colleagues. Some of the examples of our workshops were adverse childhood experiences, integrated lesson design and thinking, Google quizzes and assessments, eliminate tips and tricks, school safety best practices, students and families, or DACA for students and families, and collaborative curriculum design. The first time that we did this, we had only 3 people that signed up for it, and the last time we did this, we actually had a waiting list. I apologize, this is again an updated version right here, so the numbers look, but I just want to date some high points here. So data was pulled from DataQuest and the California dashboard. The suspension rate for 2017 was 6.6. In 2018, it was 4.4%. Recent 2019 data from SAFE office shows a suspension rate of 3.8, which is a decrease in suspension. Also, one of the things I want to notice too on the California dashboard for 2017 was the English learning progress was at 85.3%. That's blue on the dashboard, increase of 15.3%. Unfortunately, we do not have data for the 2018. We would like to know what the trend, the why for that. Our attendance rate is at 94%, and again, maintained at 94%, definitely looking for improvement. And also you can see our student population increase, both in enrollment from social disadvantage in 2017 to 38.5%, 2018 to 42.3%, English language learners 13.3 in 2017, and English language learners in 2018 12.9%. The next metrics, which I'm extremely proud of our staff. And so this is, I'm just gonna frame this real quick. This is 2018 fall semester 9th graders. As we see in our indicators of metrics for growth, in our English department, we see that 77.9% of our students in the 9th grade level are in A through C. In science, we notice that 78.4% of our students are in the A through C range. In math, we notice that 62.9% of our students are in A through C range. I noticed that there's been a decline in that percentage at other sites. I do want to say to Mr. Sesh, our math department and our math department for having the tough conversations beforehand on asking themselves what's working, what's not working, how do we serve our students, recalibrating what we do and how we teach math. I'm also going to be pretty excited, I'm hoping to see an increase at the end of this semester with the targeted guided study, catching those students that were at risk of failing. Hopefully that we will see an increase in our A through C range, and definitely a decrease in our F range. So I'm kind of excited for the data at the end of the year. Also, one thing I'd like to share here too is the data you're looking at right now is the 2017-18 and 2018-19 IB enrollment numbers. We're pulled from Illuminate. These numbers represent the students enrolled in one or more IB course. In 2019, numbers were pulled for, in 2019-20, numbers were pulled from Illuminate course request tallies. By doing a student survey, we'd added the following courses: math applications and interpretations, environmental, systems and societies, and psychology. These courses had boosted our IB enrollment numbers, creating a student-driven master schedule. So we see 593, 519, and then next year we're looking at 789 students that have requested to take an IB course. There's also an underlining theme that the data doesn't show. It's also the students or the teachers in the classroom telling their students that they can do this, encouraging their students that they can do this. If your strength is in art, take art. If your strength is in literature, take literature. If you are math, we got something for you. Go challenge yourself. That's one of the reasons why we definitely are pushing and are for IB at Montgomery High School. So I'm really excited for those numbers, and hopefully to see a growth in the next 2 and 3 years also. So our coherence. Looking at our SIPA goal, again, is to increase the number of students successfully completing A through G courses with a C or better in all grade levels, with a special emphasis on 9th and 10th graders. Montgomery thrives on having a safe, welcoming, and inclusive climate for all students and families so that all students are in their classes and ready to learn. I'm gonna try not to make the same mistake here. All right. And then our evidence of impact. Maintain our commitment to A through G courses for all grades, developing curriculum and instructional strategies that meet the needs of all students. In doing so, 50% of our staff meetings are devoted to Common Core, IB, and AVID practice and collaborative work. Used for protocols, for looking at student work, and as of right now, and again, I inherited a strong school that had these conversations before, is we have 0 numbers enrolled in non-P English 1, 0 numbers enrolled in non-P English 2, 0 numbers enrolled in non-P Science, and that is 9 through 12, and 0 numbers enrolled in non-P World History. Our challenges, they're ongoing. Strategizing capture intervention time. How do we capture our students within the instructional day and support them? Scheduling adequate time for peer-led professional learning and opportunities at the site level. I really believe that our teachers are the best ones to share their practices with their colleagues. Implementing AVID strategies school-wide and increasing the enrollment of our IB course offerings. This is our school culture climate. I threw this one in here because these posters were created by our students and displayed in every room throughout our school. They combine the IB learning profile, the 5 key learning principles of AVID, and our BEST plus matrix, behavioral matrix. And we actually have a short version of hall passes with these sayings on it also. Oh, we're missing a picture, gosh darn it. Well, thank you. So Montgomery student body, this is our why. You will notice pictures of our students walking graduation. You notice our students celebrating cultural diversity in the quad, dancing, playing band. To the far right, you actually have teachers collaborating in one of our late start days. The picture that's missing is we actually had 6 students that signed to play collegiate sports as student athletes. We had 4 of them that signed last week, and then we had 2 swimmers that signed today. And I want to say thank you. I want to thank you to the board and the community for passing Measure I, providing a safe and modern learning environment, school repairs, technologies, and labs. We are benefiting from a beautiful field right now. They're actually in the process of laying the tracks. We're excited to get on that. But mostly excited about, because I geek out on school buildings and architect, is the new 2-story building that's slated for I believe, the summer 2019 project. So again, thank you for doing that and bringing Montgomery a good facelift. I'm going to be very biased here. I think it's going to be the most beautiful building in Northern California. At this time, do you have any questions? And I'll do my best to answer those questions.
Okay, thank you all for your reports. We appreciate them. We'll do questions and comments for all 3 of you now from the board. I will say this is probably a unique situation in that you actually have 2 board members sitting right now who went to Brook Hill, Slater, and Montgomery. And that would be us. It's a big night for us too. Questions and comments from the board? Director Sheffield and Director Medina.
Just some comments. I was jotting down notes as you were running through your presentations. Thank you all for great presentations, giving an update of what's going on. One thing that was common in all the presentations was the level of student engagement and family engagement, and I highlighted the focus on attendance rates and music programs and sports programs, AVID, addressing some of the needs of the challenging students and pushing students to their fullest potential. Positive behavior intervention and rewards and incentives really big. Again, going back to a focus on attendance rates and just keeping our kids happy at school. Progress in suspension rates that was mentioned at Slater, and even addressing some of the social media issues that you're dealing with. I know it's a very difficult age, and that's you know, it's a blessing and a curse with social media. Even, you know, cheese-headed principals, they have challenges. But what I'm getting at is that with such focus on student and family engagement, it just demonstrates that our schools are committed to providing quality education and being a place that is safe for students, and make school fun. So I, again, just want to thank you for the presentations and all that you do at your schools.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Director Medina, then Director McCormick.
Thank you again, everybody, for your presentations. I always enjoy just learning what's going on at every school and like your challenges and what you're doing well. I did have a quick question on the Brook Hill presentation, slide 9. I don't know if somebody can maybe give me what the overall averages for it says 3rd grade and 6th grade averages. I believe these are for the school, but do we know like what the overall averages on the diables of students are? Like,
Page 9. Yep.
I just want to know kind of how these compare to the overall average for the district.
There you go.
I would have to get back to you, Director Medina, on how it compares to the district.
Okay, thank you. And then back to the Montgomery presentation, there was the slide with the pie charts.
Yes.
The D's, F's, that one. I don't think we had it in our presentation, but I wanted to know, because something was brought up earlier about a test to make up credits, and I'm wondering, do we know how many students, for example, from Montgomery might be participating in that, and if so, how that testing's gonna work?
Are you talking about the opportunity over spring break?
Yes.
That's through Cyber High Credit Recovery. I don't have the numbers per high school, but I can get that back to the board.
Okay. And that's it for me for right now.
Sorry, I'm consulting with Superintendent. Director McCormick.
Thank you for your presentations, and I just want to say really quickly, yeah, proud Bobcat, proud Spartan, and proud Viking. So yeah, it was really fun to hear from all of you, and I would like to thank Principal Perez Cook for taking me on such a great tour of your campus, and it was my first official site as a board member that I wanted to go to. I wanted to go right back to Brook Hill, and I shared this with her, but I grew up in the house next door to Brook Hill. It was actually on one of your slides up there. Yeah, so Brook Hill was home to me my whole childhood, so it was fantastic to get back on campus, and my 6th grade teacher there, Dick Follett, is the reason why I became a teacher, and so it was really exciting to come back and see that you have a library named after him, which I didn't know about, but it looked so much the same as I remembered, which just looked smaller. I remember it bigger in my head. But I just want to say I was so impressed the whole time I was on your campus, but almost every room we walked into, or if we were out on the playground, or we walked into the kinder room, you knew all the students' names. They were running up to you and hugging you. I saw the same actions, but from your teachers as well. And I really got this feeling that you and your staff, you know your students. And it was just delightful to see that. And it just warmed my heart. So thank you for allowing me to visit. And I will get out to Slater and Montgomery. Haven't been on those campuses for a while. So I'm looking forward to it. But I'm excited that Slater's still bringing in inspirational speakers and has a robust leadership program. I would say I went to Slater when it was a true junior high, 7th, 8th, 9th. I think my 9th grade year was my favorite year ever as a student. I vividly remember some of the speakers that came and talked to us, assemblies, and then just dabbling in leadership there. It really had an impact on me for, so I'm glad you're still doing that. That was exciting to see. And as far as Montgomery and your robust IB program and wanting to expand that, encouraging, having the teachers, see the seeds and the sparks of strengths in students and then nudging them, encouraging them to develop those. I think in education so often we're constantly in this cycle of identify the weakness, fix the weakness, and we often don't spend enough time on fanning the flame on developing strengths and interests. And so I'm so excited to see that you're doing that there, and I really can't wait to come on out and visit and see it, in action. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Manieri.
Thank you all again for those wonderful presentations, and I'm really glad to have been able to go to each one of your school sites before the presentation because I can kind of get a bigger picture of what you're talking about tonight. I'm surprised we didn't see the video of Officer Morrison in your presentation. I mean, that's such a wonderful thing that happened, and I'm so glad to have seen that. So I just wanted to highlight her and the staff for such a wonderful.
Yeah, that was spontaneous and unique and very touching, and not surprised it went viral as quickly as it did. So it's been on many places you can find it instantly. So Officer Morrison deserves a huge shout out, not just for that moment, but for so much of what she does for Randy and I. So thank you, Officer Morrison.
Yes, if she's watching, definitely. I just have a really quick question for Principal Perez-Cook. Can you tell me a little bit more about the depth of knowledge? I'm just wondering if that's a curriculum, if that's a standard, a method of grading. I just kind of want to know a little bit more about that.
Depth of knowledge is more of what we teach, the skill that we teach our students in terms of how they understand the curriculum and going deeper into it. And it's done through a close reading process where they read the materials more than once. And then there's questions that they answer. And then the key to that is that they're able to add to the text and the evidence from the text in their own words. And so that's key to the depth of knowledge. And if they're able to do DOK 3, then that means they're able to, the skills that they use for depth of knowledge 3, then they can implement those into doing projects, which is DOK 4, and that, and if the student is able to do a DOK 4, meaning that they can thoroughly understand and do a project that encompasses what they're learning.
Thank you. Yeah, I found that really interesting because it just seems like kind of a more integrative way of learning. And I'm curious to also know, how are your English language learners incorporated into that?
That's a strategy that everybody is using. I mean, we do that for all our students, and as you saw in the slides, our students are getting reclassified. We had 95 students being classified this school year, so that's evidence that our students are able to speak at the level of our EO students, our English-only students, and so that's demonstrating to us that they have the same skill as our EOs.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'll try not to. Director Medina.
I did have another question regarding the Spartan Pride page. First off, how long has it been implemented?
7 months since, or whatever it is, since August.
So, I find it kind of interesting, kind of cool. But I was wondering if, well, it seemed like initially, it seems like there was an uptake in understanding how it works and everything for students. But if positive results are showing, I'm wondering if there's conversation or thoughts about having discussion or conversation about how that may be transitioned after Slater? Like, you know, if it's something they've already learned and they know how to apply, will it continue? So if there's any thought of having that conversation.
Yeah, that's a good question. In terms of what we have used it at, what I've used it at is always a middle school level, and it's been successful. You know, this was a much larger school. Slater's a much larger school than we used it at my previous school. So adapting it to a larger school did take some growing pains, and we've tweaked it and we've worked with it, and my teachers have been great to do that positively. As far as working it at the high school level, if that's what you're referring to, I've never seen it done there. I don't know how well that would be received. But it would need to be probably altered to some degree, for sure. But we do like the positive behavior intervention support side of it that allows us to reward and recognize good behavior.
So this one I think is to piggyback on that, to your question, is that Montgomery was not running a safe school ambassador program for a couple of years, knowing that Slater does run a very active program, and knowing that we would have a cohort of students already knowing safe school ambassadors, already knowing how to give a positive culture, redirecting. We started the program again last year, really relying on those former Slater students to be the leaders. So that we are tapping into what they're doing over there.
Yeah, we run the Safe School Ambassador program as well at our school, so that's great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Director Medina, your question about the math during the spring break. Just so everybody knows that we run Cyber High recovery after school already. The idea about this was to provide just another opportunity during breaks. I think that all of our breaks are a wasted opportunity for students to get enrichment, students to get some tutoring and assistance. I think that what we have to remember, it's not a semester's worth of work in a week. It really is about pinpointing what students are missing in terms of proficiency on a particular area of math. And so they won't be doing the whole semester in a week. They'll actually be pinpointing areas by which they need to improve their skills.
And can I follow up on that? Well, I think part of my question was also the number, like how many. Well, I guess one question would be how many potentially have the need, and then the other question would be how many are choosing to participate, maybe, since it's happening so soon. I don't know if we have those numbers, or they could be provided later on.
Yeah, we have the first semester data. We showed that before, so we can definitely bring that back and show you the data show the public and the board the data for 9th grade Math 1 grades. And that's what we would pull from, or the first semester grades. Okay.
Thank you so much for your reports and the work you're doing, the very thoughtful work you're doing. I really appreciate all of you kind of calling out specific challenges and talking about how you're addressing them, the specific work you're doing to address them. Appreciate that you're all using data. It would be helpful, I think, to see comparison to county, to state, to see kind of how or just to the district, see how we're sort of lining up. I think that's always helpful. Guadalupe, I love your focus on absenteeism, and it has such positive effects to reduce that and bring up attendance. And I know that one of the things I'll applaud you for that you do really well at your school site is family engagement. I know that you have a really active parent board, and that you really get parents to the school, and that's really important. It's going to really help with that goal of yours. Now, Principal Tucker, I have to tell you that your report is great, and I love your focus on bringing down the suspension rate, and iPhones must be a huge challenge, and so I hear you there. I love the focus on reclassification, but really I want to tell you I have a special report that I get periodically from my niece who's in 7th grade at Herbert Slater.
I'm aware.
Yeah, you're aware. And I will tell you, she talks about it like it's like Disneyland. She is so excited. I've never heard anyone be more excited about middle school. And but one of the things that she has specifically talked about is the Spartan Pride page. She loves that thing. Nice. Maybe because she's a good rule follower, so it's it's good for her. But I think that there's all this research about how important character skills are, and so making that a real important part of your school culture, I think, is probably paying dividends in lots of different ways. So I applaud you for that effort.
Thank you.
And in Montgomery, it seems like there are so many good things going on there. I love the ship, and good, that really is good visual about all the work that you're doing. And really the staff-led professional development, that sounds great. And it sounds, we have such great resources and teachers in our district, and it sounds like you're really making sure to use them and to your benefit. So good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Principals go home. Principals go home.
So we're moving on to F2, discussion about the board vacancy in trustee area 3.
Yes, so I wanted to make this an actual agenda item in case there was anybody who wanted to provide any kind of public comment to it, number one. Number two was just to talk about some of the deadlines and processes. You can see attached is the application form. You can also contact Lori Kolacek to get an application. The applications will be due March 29th at 4 p.m. I think President Close, you'll want to talk about a subcommittee for reviewing applications, and then the actual interviews will occur at the April 10th, 2019 meeting.
Yes, this is a surprise vacancy, and but when we have a tight timeline, so we will. I'm glad that we're posted it, and I know we're going to advertise like we did the last time, and really do everything we can to get the word out. Hopefully, we'll have lots of applicants. So that we have a good choice to make among candidates. Last time we were real lucky to have lots of good applicants, and any of them would have been good, but we lucked out with Director McCormick, and so that was good. And so the first thing that we do is we do a paper screen as the board and as a board subcommittee. So I actually asked Vice President Fong to chair that subcommittee instead of me, and she accepted. So we need 2 other people. It can only be 3. We need 2 other people. And so I wanted to ask if there are folks that are interested, and then if there are more. Look at Stephanie. Where did Stephanie? Okay, well, we'll wait till Stephanie's back to talk about that. We'll wait till she's back. But what else did you want to address anything else? We'll wait till Stephanie.
Well, I think that for the public's information, we will not be using the same questions that you heard during the board meeting. So the questions will be different. And I would ask that the committee take a look at those questions, the subcommittee, to take a look at those questions so that the whole board could then review them as well. And so I see Director Monieri is back.
So I'm wondering what board members are interested in serving on the initial screening subcommittee. If there are more than 2, then we'll just draw names tonight. So show of hands, are you interested in serving on the subcommittee to do the paper screen?
How much time does that take?
Not Amy, some review of the papers and a meeting.
All right.
Okay. Director McCormick, Omar. Ed. Okay, so we're going to draw names. So we'll do, this is exciting. Joel, do you want to come pick the names? I feel like you could be an honorary kind of. I'm helping you warm up for your next report.
All right, I get started.
Exactly. You've been sitting there a while. It's slow. This is a really important responsibility, Joel. This is the $189 million budget and this.
Right, he's picking two because
Two.
Laura's the third.
That is correct. And the winners? Pick one, and then another. Oh my gosh, the suspense. I can't believe all the people didn't want to stay for this.
I know.
First,
Yeah,
Ed.
nice work.
Second is Jill. Okay.
Wow. This is big. Okay, so Vice President Fong and Director Sheffield and McCormick will paper screen all of the applicants that we're going to get, the throngs of people, and then submit everyone who they decide is eligible and ready to come forward to the open board. And we'll do the same thing that we did last year, and hopefully everybody's watching. And that is that we will, not, was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. Is that we will do the interviews in open session here in public, and then we will take public comment. So if anyone wants to weigh in on any candidates they heard, they can, and then we'll do a vote. Okay? Any questions or comments about the process? Director McCormick?
To anybody watching and anyone who's still in here, I say if you're interested and you care about schools in Santa Rosa, seriously consider getting involved. And it was a bit of a leap of faith on my part, but it's an exciting process, and it's interesting in that you don't necessarily have to run a campaign in the moment, and you can like think through it a little bit. And so I just want to encourage people to think about it. If it's been something on your mind or it's been in the back of your mind for years, get involved. And yeah, it's a little terrifying, but it's good. But it's good. So I just encourage people to seriously consider getting involved.
Yeah, and one of the things that that is cool is that we usually go every year to the, well, we do every year go to the CSBA annual education conference so we can learn, do some board education. But SCO is actually doing the Masters in Governance workshops coming up, and so there's some opportunities local to do some education for new board members too. So there will be some training. Superintendent and Director Sheffield.
I just want to remind everybody, it is trustee area 3. You'd be surprised how many calls Lori would get about it being interested. She would check the address and they were not in the correct trustee area. So just remember, it's trustee area 3.
Yes, and you need to live there, not just.
And just to add, for any interested applicants to reach out to us if you have any questions. Talk to us. You know how to contact us. If not, the district can steer you. If you would like to give us a call, sit down for coffee. Very helpful to know. I've heard from a couple of folks who are considering this, and I said, you know, we'll sit down and have coffee with you if you have any questions. And one thing that I just wanted to add, and Evelyn left and trying to figure out where she would speak, and she just wanted to I know come in and say some goodbyes, and just how much I'm going to miss her presence here on the board. She came in with all this, you know, experience as being a very involved parent, and everything that she did, all the issues that she addressed, she did it, you know, from the eyes of a parent, and not just, you know, the parents of her kids, but, you know, a lot of parents out there, they don't have the means to be as involved in their kids' lives, and so she spoke for them and to them as well. And you know, she was on the tail end of bringing her kids through school, and I'm on the early end, and saw her as sort of a role model. I'm just trying to get my kids to stay seated during dinner and not kill each other. And she successfully raised her children, and now they're off and on a new adventure in their life, and that's really admirable, because as I said before, she had that perspective, the perspective of a parent, And that's what I appreciated and valued the most from her role on the board. And maybe she's home listening. If not, you've heard me say it before, but thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you, Director Sheffield. I think we're all grateful for Evelyn's service, and it's too bad we didn't go through sort of the normal process when people go off the board and we do a presentation. This was a new one.
Oh, there's time.
There's time.
We will honor her, definitely.
Okay.
If you're listening, get ready.
And I would echo it. And she's so excited that was just announced on well, Sonoma County, everybody is. So, but I'd echo what Director Sheffield says, reach out to any of us if you want to know, but also, really important, reach out to the superintendent. Okay, that's that. F3, now that you're all warmed up, Joel and Rick, the second interim report with positive certification, 2018-2019.
Good evening, President Close, Superintendent Kitamura, members of the board. I'll thank President Close again for giving the ending out before we start with a positive certification.
What is in the title? So I didn't totally steal your thunder. The actual agenda did.
But we will talk about, and we'll start with the ending first, that we are positively certified for the second interim report for the fiscal year 2018-19. Tonight we'll be doing a quick review on the annual budget cycle. Through the MYP, we're going to address some changes at second interim. We'll look further at the multi-year projection moving forward at this point in time, components of our ending fund balance, and our other funds in the district, and then a timeline for what's going to happen between now and adoption of the 2019-20 district budget in the second meeting in June. As a reminder, Education Code states that we must give an interim report, the first interim report for activities ending October 31st of the fiscal year, and a second interim report for activities ending January 31st of the fiscal year. And so that is from July 1 to October 30 and July 1 to January 31. This tonight is our second interim report for the 2018-19 fiscal year. With the interim reports, this is not done during the budget, but first and second interim, the district certifies its financial condition, either positive, qualified, or negative. Positive meaning that we feel we can meet our financial obligations for this year and the 2 subsequent years. Qualified, we may not meet our financial obligations for the current year or 2 subsequent years, and a negative declaration that we will not meet our fiscal obligations. So as you can see, the check mark shows that we will be submitting a positive second interim report. When we talk about the budget cycle, I've circled in red second interim around the circle. We've seen this slide before. One thing that you'll note, third interim is not on this slide any longer. Third interim report would be required if we were to certify qualified or negative at second interim. So we will remove that from our budgeting cycle because that will not be required this year. The next presentation will be the 2019-20 public hearing for the budget, and then the approval at the following meeting. So as we showed in December, one of the things that we're still dealing with our budget, even with a positive certification, is the path of our revenues and expenditures. Revenues are in blue, expenditures are in red, and this is illustrated not only here on this graph, but also in the multi-year projection that expenditures are still outpacing revenues. although we are trying to bring those numbers closer together. Mr. Dantos to my right will be talking about some of the changes that occurred in the multi-year projection based on activity since October 31st. So looking at our multi-year projection, and I'll let Joel get into this in greater detail, but we are projecting that in the 2019-20, excuse me, there's a typo on there, that should be 2020-21. Our unassigned unappropriated ending balance is a positive $724,311, thus allowing us to certify positive. I'll let Joel go into some more detail on this slide and the assumptions used for the second interim and multi-year projection.
Thank you. So as Rick stated, these are updates for the current year through January 31st, as well as updates for the 2 future years. So I'll start by going through some of the detail in the budget that applies to the current year, and then follow up with the 2 future years. The current year, you'll see there is a change to this year's budget. It's fairly material. It's about in excess of $7 million, and I'm gonna go into detail of where that came from. It's really contributed from 3 items contribute to that. One is we got a new grant, which you got a presentation on, I believe. It's the Student Support and Achievement Enrichment Grant Program. It's about a $1.3 million grant. So we've increased the revenues as well. We've budgeted associated expenditures for that grant in total revenues and offsetting expenditures. That's one. The other item, with our new audit and our updated current projections for our STRS on behalf retirement liability that we carry in our financial statements. We don't pay for it directly. STRS pays for it, but we carry it on our financial records. So we've revised that. Now we currently carry about a $7.1 million STRS liability for our current retirees collecting pension, and we've updated the budget of about $3 million to $7.1 million to make that current. The other item is we've got updated insurance claims. We have some that are still related to the 2017 fires. We've got other property and liability insurance claims. I think there was a fire at one of the schools as well, but that accounts for about a $1.6 million increase to the budget. Again, we're carrying insurance claims that are expenses as well as insurance revenue claims. Then the third item is, that was all 3 of them. We went through 3 of them: insurance, STRS on behalf, and the, right, so that's a pretty big impact to the budget, but those are the contributing factors. The other things I would think are of mentioning are we also updated our special education costs. We have some vacancies in our special ed instructional aides that we carry, and then we update them when we don't fill them, but so we updated those. Then we had some psychologists that were updated to be per a contract because we haven't filled those vacancies. We filled them with the contracted employees. And then we got just some other special ed updates with our current scope programs. But other material changes, I don't think that there is any to mention in the current year. If anybody has any questions, or wants clarification, I'd be open to answering those, or now, or even at the end of the presentation. So now we can go into the 2 future years. We continue to carry the assumptions made for the January governor's budget for our assumptions when in regards to, here I'm gonna move to this slide. So I'll go over the assumptions and then come back and go over the ending fund balance so we know how it was arrived to. Again, key assumptions, our revenues are based on the state budget. We got in January, the governor came out with his January proposal for 2019-20, And in May, he'll come out with his revision to that proposal, and in June, the state will adopt their budget, and we'll use those figures as moving forward. But for now, and you'll see those when we adopt the budget, as Rick said, in June for 1920, but for this second interim, we continue to use the governor's January budget assumptions, and these are shown here, our COLA, moving from 3.7 this year to 3.46 to 2.86. We have our CalPERS and CalSTRS rates, which is our employer paid contribution rate. So really moving forward in the future years, I think the largest item of note is with the work that Cabinet has been doing on enrollment projections next year. We have updated our enrollment projections, and those are included in this two future budget assumptions, and it's a further decline projection in enrollment, and it's about a $1.2 million decrease in revenues in that future year. And you can see on the next slide we show the current assumptions, and then the current CalPERS rates, again CalSTRS, and then we go into another one. So then, with all these included in the budget, we do show ending unassigned appropriate balance in the third year of 724,000 and some change moving forward with this current budget projection.
So as we talked about previously, we are experiencing declining enrollment. The 14,255 is the projected enrollment for Santa Rosa City Schools for the 2019-20 school year, not including charter school enrollment. The 14,057 is our estimate right now, and we're starting to work on those projections to update that number for the future years. Excuse me. We're trying to use concise and as credible enrollment projections as we can in conjunction with the work we're doing between business services and HR, so that we are budgeting with a number, and we're also staffing with the same number that we're budgeting with. As we've talked in the past, at times that hasn't always happened, which has caused differences between staffing and what we've allocated in the budget for that particular school site or multiple school sites. So we're taking a very close look at that. And as I mentioned, we're starting now to work on the 2020-21 enrollment projections, and as more data becomes available, we'll continually update those until we start, we'll use those in the budget as well as in the future for section and staffing allocation. As Joel mentioned, these are the CalPERS rates. 2018-19, our current year is set at 18.1. 2019-20 through 2021-22 are no less than best guesses at this point of where CalPERS will set their rates. For CalSTRS, CalSTRS does have statutory rates through 2020-21 that cannot be adjusted by CalSTRS or the school district. Governor Newsom, in his January budget proposal, has offered to help offset some of those costs with a reduction in 19-20 of about 1% and 2020-21 of about 1% as well. The rates are still going up on an annual basis, that's important to remember, but they're not going up at the same percentage that the legislature had mandated for STRS to increase by. After the 2020-21 school year, CalSTRS will then have authority to increase or decrease rates based on their unfunded liability going into the future. Other funds showing fund balances. Joel, is there anything you want to say about the other funds?
I can just say Fund 9 is all our charter schools. It includes Santa Rosa French American Charter, Arts Charter, Accelerated Charter, and Cesar Chavez Language Academy, all rolled up into Fund 9. Fund 12 is our Child Development Fund. That is our state preschool contract that we have for families that qualify for that program economically, and we get a grant from the state, and I believe we hire North Children's Center to man that for us. That's that fund, Fund 12. Fund 13 is our cafeteria fund. It's our child nutrition services. That's all of our schools where lunch programs are included in this, our central kitchen, and all costs associated with that. Fund 14 is it's a maintenance fund. It has money from a previous balance carried over that we track for our facilities projects. Fund 17 is a similar special reserve fund. These hold balances. We don't get a lot of revenues into them, and they're restricted for certain projects that we have available to us. Fund 21 is our bond fund. That is where all of our series that we go out for bond, from our bond measure that the voters measured on, and we collect those revenues, and we carry all those revenues and expenditures and record them in this Fund 21. Fund 25 is our developer fee fund. We collect, if a local builder wants to build a residential or commercial property within our district boundaries, we have statutory and certain mitigation fees that we charge that they pay in addition to their permitting fees with either the city or county building departments, and we collect those fees, and that is for any future growth associated with developments that need to go towards facilitating school facilities. Fund 35 is a county reserve fund. We only have a $500 balance in there, and it's an old fund that we just carry on our books. I'm not really sure what we were going to do with it, but since there's money there, we report on it. Does anybody have any questions on that fund? Okay. Fund 40 is our, it's another reserve fund. We carry our Emergency Repair Act work in that fund that facilities does. In the Williams settlement, we also carry our is it Prop 30 or Prop 39, our Clean Energy Jobs Act work, Prop 39, the Clean Energy Jobs Act work that we have that program in that fund. Fund 67 is our dental fund. It's our self-insured dental fund, so we pay for that through our payroll contributions, and then we pay for claims out of that fund as well. And this shows all their end analysis. So this is the current year revenues versus expenditures in addition to any prior balances, and then our ending results. So you can see they have these ending results.
One point I'd like to make on the funds is the Cafeteria Fund 13, otherwise known as Child Nutrition Services. Through the work with our interim director and reducing food costs through competitive bidding and smarter purchasing, we do expect that cafeteria fund to be in the black at the end of the school year as either at zero or positive, with a lot of credit to Devin Twigg for the work that he's doing in food services to, one, do the work with limited staff. We have some vacancies that we're trying to fill there as well, but his eye for detail in the competitive bidding process that he's gone through. Moving forward, the certification, I think this is the third time we've said it in the presentation, it's positive, we're happy about that. Moving forward, so tonight, March is obviously the presentation of the second interim. We'll now start the 2019-20 budget development process, continuing on through May with eager anticipation to see what Governor Newsom does in his May revise for education. We'll present updated budget assumptions as well as continue on with 19-20 budget development. The first board meeting in June will be the public hearing on the 19-20 budget, and then we'll be brought back at the second meeting in June for budget adoption. With that, I'll turn it over to the board for any questions.
Thank you. Questions from the board or comments? Okay, well, I will say thank you again. I think we are more confident with the numbers that we get from staff than we have been in years, and that is really a nice, comforting feeling. And it's exciting to have, positive certification. It's sobering to see that when you look at the 3-year projection, that we have money in the bank right now so that we can ride out our structural deficit for 3 years, and that last ending balance in the 3rd year, I worked it out, is 0.3% of our budget. So there's not a lot of room. It's not a lot of room. But that's careful budgeting on your part to make sure that we get that positive certification. It's a good place to be. Thanks for your work. Yes. Director McCormick, and Director Medina.
Sorry.
And then the superintendent, who completely lost control.
We did. I just have a quick question about the positive certification. Do we just have to be like $1 in the black? Or like, what is the padding? What's required for positive certification?
Yeah, basically we're saying that with our projections on expenditures through this year and the subsequent 2 years, that we'll be able to meet all our financial obligations. So if that were $1 in the negative, we would have to show that we are going to make reductions in order to meet our financial obligations in whatever year that were to happen. So generally we look at the 3rd year and then work our way back. So if it was negative $1, which I would contribute $1 to make it good, we would have to show a reduction of $1 somewhere in order to bring that to 0 in the 3rd year.
Director Medina.
Yeah, I just had a question regarding Fund 67. I'm just curious if this fund balance, is this amount cumulative with year-over-year growth, and if so, do you know approximately how much it grows per year, this balance?
I mean, that's a good question. So I haven't done that level of research on this, and I haven't. This administration hasn't made significant changes to that program. We've continued past practice, but I think it's worth looking at coming back with the information.
And also money goes into and out of that account as we pay where we are self-insured dental provider or dental insurance provider. So that number changes frequently as payments go out to Aero Benefit Group, which oversees the dental benefits, but we'll certainly provide more information to you.
And my second question, well, I don't know if this is a question per se, it's more of an observation. Just looking at the enrollment projections between 18-19 and 2021, it seems like that's almost like over 400 students there. It's like almost like an elementary school, and I'm wondering if we're looking at in the future we might be closing the school down at some point as enrollment decreases. So I don't know if that's a question or just that observation.
Yeah, enrollment is down across the county. All schools are facing these kinds of declines. So I think it is the multiple ways in which we are trying to address housing, address competitive wages and salaries for everybody in the county, including our teachers and our support staff. So I think I know that this is a county-wide issue that needs to be looked at in collaboration together with city, state, county officials, because the little districts, right, the ones around us, with a 50 student loss that affects them, tremendously. So I think it's something that we really need to take a look at. The live burst, the demographics going out to 2035, I mean, it's going to continue to decline. So I think right now the entire county needs to decide how we're going to address this. So I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Following up on that, I think, we're going to have to obviously keep doing these reports as we continue year after year. And I'm curious as to, in making those decisions, like what role would the updated census data play in that decision, and how we decide what we do in the future and how we project out in the future?
Well, yeah, I think that was one of the questions when we first did the demographic study to talk about districts. Can't we wait for the census to happen? But we couldn't, under the law, we couldn't. So I think that's definitely going to have an effect, is the census as well. And your question about closing schools, that's really going to be a board decision for us to begin exploring if we keep seeing trends look like they're looking right now. It isn't our intent right now. We're going to look towards the positive and see how we can get students back in our district. For example, we know that in the Lincoln area, there are 150 students that could be at Lincoln Elementary that are going to Roseland or other districts. At Burbank, a flyer was sent to me by the staff there, and there was a beautiful color flyer going to our Burbank residents from Roseland about going to Roseland. And so it's something that our staff has to take a look at in terms of what are we doing for outreach. We are watching it closely. We're not at the tipping point, but it's something that the board is going to have to face if we keep seeing the decline in enrollment.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, and then I want to say.
Oh, I was just going to say, the census will be used as another data point as we project out. So we'll continue to work with our demographer for him to update with that, and then when the census happens, he'll have another piece of available data to use with that. Declining enrollment not only is happening in Santa Rosa City Schools and Sonoma County, as Superintendent Kitamura said, but it is the first time in state's history that elementary school districts, high school districts, unified school districts, and charter schools are in declining enrollment across the state. Right now in Sonoma County, and I can speak for Santa Rosa City Schools as well as some of our feeder districts that I've had conversations with, there's a bubble going through right now in 7th and 8th grade, and big declining enrollment in elementary. You can see even that this year, our high schools are pretty healthy and stayed, for sake of argument, about where they were at. Middle schools were about where they were at, small declines, small increases in a couple of schools, but elementaries were down big in terms of total enrollment population throughout Santa Rosa City Schools, and that's true of Rankin Valley and a couple of other districts that are seeing that bubble go through. So we're not experiencing in high school yet to the same degree we are in elementary, but in 2 years, when the 7th graders become 9th graders, we're going to see those classes start to get smaller as well, unless something significant changes in Santa Rosa that brings more people at varying grade levels.
Thank you.
I just want to commend Rick and Joel, Joel, your staff, for the amount of work that has gone into really turning around from 3 years ago when I took over superintendent and found where we were, and going immediately into a qualified status to, in the last 2 interim reports, being at a positive status. And so I really want to commend Joel, you and your staff's work for everything you've done with the nitty-gritty of the numbers. You're right, Director Close, President Close, I do at this point now finally feel that I can walk on solid ground in terms of making decisions around fiscal, and so that's good. I also wanted to make a point, and I didn't know if I was going to say it in my superintendent's report or in this area, that as we continue to work to reduce the structural deficit, we've got these 2 positive certifications, we are not out of the woods, so to speak. So we have to be very diligent in ensuring that we are being as efficient as possible. Because our expenses, not just of our own, but caused by the economics of where we are going to be continuing to outpace our revenue. And so it's something we have to watch very carefully. I think the other point I wanted to bring up was that there's no doubt in my mind, and I've said this, that our staff, our classified and certificated staff, should have competitive salaries and benefits. And so I look forward to the negotiation teams getting back to the table to make that happen. But I also want it to be known that no matter what the contract, if it was settled today or tomorrow, has no bearing on the structural deficit. It just doesn't have a bearing. We would have to still have these reductions with or without that contract. And so I really want to make that clear to everyone about that. And then finally, we still need to look at full and fair funding. Look to the website, fullandfairfunding.org. Please sign up. Beth Burke, our communications coordinator, along with Linda Zavala from CSEA, attended Alameda County office last week, where they are planning a rally on April 3rd in Sacramento. I asked Beth to explore the idea of what we could do in Sonoma County, and so we're going to begin working together with Sonoma County Office of Education, and my hope is all of the different unions, as well as parents, as well as board members, to make something happen from Sonoma County around full and fair funding. So I wanted to make that point either then or now. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a good thing we have a handle on the numbers, because declining enrollment is an issue on, throughout the state, as you said, in the county, and we don't know if it is now being exacerbated by the fires, but we don't know if that's going to actually increase. Are people going to keep leaving? At what rate? And so it's important that we have this real tight oversight over this right now, because it's not necessarily the gross numbers of enrollment that we have to be really focused on, but the efficient use of our resources. That's really what the budgeting is about. So it's good that we can count on you. Thank you. Yep. This is an action item. We have to approve this.
I move to approve the second interim report with positive certification for the 2018-19 fiscal year.
Second. Moved by Director Manieri, seconded by Director McCormick. Roll call vote, please.
Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director McCormick?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director Medina?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, motion carries, and that brings us to F4. We're going to have an early night tonight. Maybe. I don't know. I know. I'm screwing it all up tonight. All right, discussion item, certificated staffing reductions for 2019-2020. Interpretive haiku.
Good evening again, President Close, Superintendent Kitamura, and directors of the board, and the public who is still up watching with popcorn, I hope. We're going to discuss certificated staffing reductions, and as has, I think, been the theme this evening, we know that we are in a new reality when we look at staffing, and we have to think about the humanity of the people that we're dealing with when we're talking about these positions. So we want to talk about what some of the reasons are and what it looks like. We've heard this, expenses outpace revenue, and this is a statutory process that we have to engage in by law in order to make sure that staff have the information they need to make informed decisions, and that we're able to fully and appropriately staff by the law and to meet our fiscal responsibilities. So what layoffs are not, as you can see, necessarily permanent is one that a lot of people think about. These are potential layoffs, and so we have to go forward with what might be possible, knowing that should our fiscal situation change, that they might be rescinded. and it's not based on performance. And I think to what Assistant Superintendent Edson said in the last report in regards to enrollment declining across the state, it's similar that unfortunately layoffs are not unusual in California anymore either. So what is factored? We've talked about budget considerations, board policy and education code, so we have to meet statutes. It's one of the reasons why we are so absolutely methodical, and I would say relentless in ensuring that, as we'll talk about in just a little bit, that all of our information is accurate. It's one of the things that we've also been working on with student services and enrollment and business and finance to make sure that the information we are using to inform these decisions is accurate. And we know that we also have to work within the realm of the contract. While it is not negotiated what layoffs are, the process and the impact of that is. So you can see some of the budget considerations. I want to reiterate what Superintendent Kitamura said. Regardless of whether or not we would have a tentative agreement, either with CSEA and or with SRTA, we still have a structural deficit. And when we talk about layoffs, we're talking specifically about certificated staff and not classified, but that often means positions. So when we think about determining what to reduce or eliminate, I won't go through all of these bullets, but I'd like to highlight just a few. Of course, in the grounds layoff, we talked about some of that decline, but it can also be impacted by modifications to program or pathways and changes in law or statute. We know that the expectation for student learning and performance has changed, and there's law that substantiates that. That means we have to staff for that. When those changes in program change, then sometimes staffing does, and that sometimes results in layoffs. We have a political context. As board members, you experience that all the time, that we have to be aware of the different agendas, and I don't say agenda in a negative way, but the agendas or the priorities that people have in the community and in our schools. And you can see from the opportunities for input, this list is not all inclusive, but it is the ways for both individual staff as well as members of the community to provide input for what are priorities, what's important when we're looking at staffing. This list is not in priority order, nor is it hierarchical. Say that 5 times fast. However, they are some of the lists of information that we gather to discern what is needed in regards to layoffs. And that seniority list is all important. We have to make sure that, and we've worked with SRTA and appreciate President Lyons' support on this as well, to reach out to members to make sure that they're also communicating to us, this is my credential, these are additional certifications I have, this is additional training that I have, and that is captured and we use that. We're constantly sending those out to make sure that dates of hire and probationary status, et cetera, are accurate as well, because that has a significant impact on staffing and layoffs, as you'll see in just a moment. And that goes to bumping and skipping. Bumping is when someone of senior status bumps into another, and skipping is essential. If you remember, about a month ago, the board approved a resolution that identifies skipping criteria, and it's also in the resolution that was discussed in closed session today. Skipping is important with all of those lists that we talk about, because when we discuss and prioritize the needs that students have and their learning and particular kinds of service, we need to make sure that people are credentialed and certified to provide that particular kind of service. And that, if you want to call it, sometimes known as skipping, but also a priority for retaining certain staff. We hope that we never get to it. As Superintendent Kitamura said earlier, this is not a pleasant process by any means, and skipping usually occurs, and it's usually at the very last end of this process, if you will, that tie-breaking criteria occurs, because we often have staff that start on the same day, and sometimes it gets down to a point where, you know, Director Sheffield might have signed at 8:15, McCormick at 8:16, that's the distinction in seniority and first, you know, date and time of paid status. So again, why those lists are so important. So some of the types of particular kinds of service, I spoke to this a moment ago, so I won't go into depth, but we have to be explicit in what is the service that is essential to be provided, what is the staffing that meets that, and then those are the positions that are kept, and those that in this particular situation might not be most essential. And I just want to make an answer. We know that all teachers, all of our staff are so important and so valuable. And so going back to one of the first slides in our beliefs, this is not about performance in this situation. It's not about not liking or thinking someone is good. It is a statutory process that we're required to engage in. So the preliminary notices will begin going out, and it's a priority of the superintendent and of all staff that we are humane in this process. And so I will be meeting with staff on an individual basis who are impacted and affected, and we will continue to communicate with SRTA about the process for what this means, because again, I need to reiterate that may be laid off. You'll see based upon the conversation we had in closed session that the numbers are already different than those that were posted in the original resolution, because we continue to cut to the bone, but not to blanket in layoffs. We don't want to cause unnecessary anxiety with our staff and our teachers. But there are things to be aware of. You are targets as public figures. I know, having been a principal, it's like, well, can't we do this? Can't we do that? I want to try this. You know, everyone's jockeying to save a person and save a position. And so we know that morale is affected. We know that, you know, unions are going to organize, as is their right, to represent their members. There could be internal conflict because that person who started 1 minute earlier now has seniority than the other. So with all of that, this last box I think really is the most important, is that we are going to continue to treat everyone with dignity and professionalism through this process. So these numbers have already changed since we last met, but I'm just going to briefly take you through a few. The 23.5 has been reduced to the resolution we discussed earlier at 19.9 FTE. Again, that's through attrition that we're seeing from retirements, resignations, et cetera. These are district and site-based administrator reductions. We know that we want to keep reductions as far away from the classroom as possible, and over the course of the last 3 years, there have already been significant reductions in the administrator roles at the district and at the site level to keep those cuts away from the classroom, and yet we still have to engage in some of those, and so those are some of the numbers there. We continue to see resignations and retirements increase. Right now, those are at about 24.25 totaled up from when this was done, and the non-reelects that you saw from the last session and the session this evening. Future considerations, I want to be really clear that these are just considerations. When we go to those lists of everything we have to look at, there could be positions that have been frozen that haven't been filled, so we're not going to. Leave of absences, making sure that we're following to statute and the law on those. Same with reduced work year practices and temporary positions. Temporary are usually year to year and end, and so those might also have an impact on what we see in regards to layoffs. And so I know that that's a lot of information. It's something that we have to do, not that we want to do, but we always want to come back to this thought by Maya Angelou in regards to, it's not what you said or did, but how you made them feel. And we want to make sure that people feel that they have dignity in this profession. Hopefully as many as possible will continue to be with us, but those who are not will know that we respect them through this. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain any comments or questions from the board.
Thank you. Do we have questions or comments from the board? I feel like if I start to talk, then someone's going to think of a question, because that's the, so I was trying to see if I could. Yeah, just give us some time. Thank you both for the explanation of the report. This is complicated. You know, the way we need to do this, it's unfortunate. It doesn't feel good to anybody. I appreciate your attention to respecting staff and treating them with respect during this. And having some empathy for the folks who are on the receiving end of this kind of news. So thank you. And that brings us to our last item tonight. It's an action item, and this is an item that we actually already discussed in closed session and voted on because it was a change in the original projection, but we need to do that same thing here in open session as an open session action item.
That is correct, President Close. We are asking that the board approve the resolution with the correction of the 19.9 FTE that we discussed earlier in closed session to reflect the work that we've done to reduce the impact on staff.
So are there questions or comments about this as an action item? So then I need a motion to approve the resolution 2018-19046, resolution to decrease the number of certificated employees due to reduction or elimination of particular kinds of services up to an amount of 19.9 FTE pursuant to Ed Code 4449 and 44955. Well, I did the hard part for you, so you can just say, so moved. Okay, one of you want a second? Help me.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Director Sheffield, second by Director McCormick. Roll call vote, please.
Director Sheffield? Aye. Director McCormick?
Aye.
Director Manieri?
Aye.
Director Medina?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Motion carried and meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.